They say when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. But what if the lemons are rotten? What then? A more optimistic person would find something useful to do with rotten lemons, but not me. I was fed up of being dealt awful cards. "What the hell is this?" Noah growled, his eyes alight with spite. "You've got to be kidding me. What kind of sick, awful joke is this?" he shouted, drawing attention to us. "You wench! What did you do?" He glared at me with reddened eyes that I could not avoid. "What's going on?" people around us whispered as the Alpha's son cursed at me, his eyes alight with so much malice it seemed he wanted to bury me underneath it. "Babe, what's the matter?" the blonde bombshell attached to his side asked with a pout, trying to get his attention back on her. "Get off me!" He shrugged her off and stalked forward, taking purposeful strides toward me. My legs trembled as I tried to flee, but my body had gone into lockdown. It did that a lot when it sensed danger. I'd become a frozen rabbit withdrawing into an artfully carved shell perfected over the years, a shell that I entered at the first sign of danger to save myself. "You can't be my mate." He hissed the words into my face, spittle flying everywhere. "You're not good enough to stand beside me." His words were inaudible even to me. He spoke them as if he feared someone else would hear. He was ashamed of me, and I didn't blame him. I was ashamed of myself too. I was a shameful person. It was shameful that at 20, I didn't have a wolf, and it was even more shameful how I let these people toss me about without fighting back. "I can't accept you," Noah growled into my face, his breath reeking of alcohol. "Okay," I answered with a shrug that hid the anguish wrenching my insides apart. It was my worst nightmare playing out right before me. I'd dreamt of finding my mate for so long, but without a wolf, I knew the chances of rejection were high. However, it didn't mean I did not hope. Mates are two parts of a whole. Fated mates did not reject each other, but my life had to be a contradiction. "I know I am not good enough," I muttered to Noah, who was still breathing in my face. "I understand." He reeled back in surprise at my calmness. "What? Did you expect me to fall at your feet and beg to be accepted? I have a bit of pride, you know. I may be an orphaned, wolfless omega, but I still have my self-respect no matter how small," I thought. "You?" Noah stuttered, and in a minute his pale face turned red. "You're not—" His alcoholic breath irritated my nostrils. "Baby, what's the matter?" Bella came forward and grabbed Noah's arm, clinging to him. He gave me an irritated look before he grabbed Bella by the waist, pulled her into his chest, and smashed his lips against hers. The girl gasped in surprise, but she pulled him closer, her hands tangling into his hair. The people behind whistled and hooted, but Noah kept his eyes fixated on me as he kissed another girl. No matter how much I pretended to be fine on the outside, my insides were turning and twisting. My heart felt as if someone was stabbing into it with a blunt knife, stabbing and wrenching. My heart slowed for a moment, and breathing, because impossible. Through blurry eyes, I watched Noah's eyes light up before they closed as he got fully invested in kissing another girl, while I, his mate, watched. No blow ever hurt this much. No slap, no kick, and no harsh word ever caused me this much pain. I swerved on my heels, my heart too heavy to continue watching the scene playing out before me, but as I turned, a loud voice halted me. "I found my mate!" Noah shouted in the hall, and silence descended around me. In a daze, I turned to look back at him. What trick did he have up his sleeve? "Congratulations, Bella," a girl shouted from beside them. "You're going to be the Luna, as you said." Just like that, people cheered and congratulated Bella. They didn't ask who Noah was mated to. After that steamy and public kiss, there was no need to ask. Confusion shone in Bella's eyes as she looked up at Noah, but his eyes were on me, his lips pulled up at the side as he watched my reaction. Following his gaze, her eyes came to rest on me, and the small smile on her lips fell. A dark look crossed her eyes, and a biting cold pierced my chest. "That's right," she said in a cold voice. "I am Noah's Luna." She raised her chin into the air and smiled a haughty smile. "Noah, my boy!" The Alpha ran into the hall where the welcome party for his son was in full swing. Earlier, the adults left the hall for the youngins to party, but at that moment the Alpha and his Luna were running into the party to congratulate their son on finding his mate. The Luna shoved past me as she rushed to hug Bella, and I laughed. It was a small chuckle that no one heard. and it was all I could do in this situation. I should be the one getting congratulated, not Bella. I was Noah's mate, not Bella. But I couldn't say that. Noah said with his mouth that I wasn't deserving of standing by his side, and he was right. He just returned from the academy where he spent the last 5 years being educated to take over this pack. A girl like me did not belong by his side. Bella was more fitting. She was the beta's daughter, a pretty girl with a banging body, a nice attitude, and most importantly, a beta wolf. Me? I was nobody. Tears streamed down my face as I exited the hall. I tried convincing myself that this was for the best. Even if Noah accepted me, his family would not accept me and the pack would never respect me. I wasn't cut out to be a Luna. I knew that, but the tears did not stop. Why did it hurt so much? Why did my lemons taste so bad? How many more rejections would I have to deal with in my lifetime? My father rejected me, my mother rejected me, my pack rejected me, and now my mate rejected me. From my conception, I wasn't good enough. When would I be good enough? What did I have to do to be accepted? As one of the helps for the party, I wasn't allowed to leave as I did, but my legs carried me to my room. The tears fell faster and harder as I stumbled upstairs, and once I closed the door behind me, I screamed. It was too much. The emotions choked me. My head throbbed, my heart throbbed, and my throat throbbed as I screamed louder. Why me? I shouted at my ceiling. What did I do? Why do I have to suffer this much? I screamed, clawing at my chest. It hurt. The stabbing in my heart hurt too much. My limbs trembled as I hit my chest. What did I ever do wrong? I screamed. I'm just one person, so why did I have to carry this much burden? Where was the goddess? Why did she abandon me? Why did my creator always throw me into situations where I would suffer? How could a goddess be so cruel? I hate you, I spoke the blasphemous words. You're too cruel. The words stuck in my tightened throat. Aren't you supposed to love me? Didn't you create me? Why do you... Even the goddess rejected me. I'd never known love, and I'd never asked to be loved. I never even asked for a crumb of affection. All I wanted in life was to be treated as a person who had a heart to feel. I wanted people to see and understand that I was hurt and hurting. Maybe then they would treat me like a person with emotions and not an object to be abused. I didn't think it was too much to ask. The goddess was supposed to give me a loving mate. My mate was the only person on the planet who I felt could love me with all my flaws and shortcomings. Why did she have to give me a man like Noah? Why was I always set up to be hurt and humiliated? I hate you! I didn't know who the words were for this time. The goddess who abandoned me, or Noah, who not only rejected me seconds after finding out we were mates, but also proclaimed another woman as his Luna right in my presence. I hate, the words stuck to my throat as I gasped, my eyes turning dark for a split second as a sharp knife drove my heart. What's happening to me? I panicked, stumbling upright on trembling knees. My body stiffened and I grimaced at the bitter taste that spread on my tongue. What's this? I swallowed hard through my tight and dry throat. My mouth fell open as the pain intensified. I grabbed the door when my body swayed as I left my room, an invisible force urging me to come out of my room. I didn't know what was happening, but my instincts went into overdrive, and something inside me howled and shrieked in agony. My legs carried me down the stairs and out of the pack house as an unrelenting, sharp sting ripped my insides apart. As if propelled by an external force, I turned left and walked towards the back of the pack house. I stopped dead in my tracks when I witnessed the scene playing out before my eyes. "Ha!" Bella moaned. "Faster! Ah, yes! Like that!" She held her skirt up, and my mate held her by her waist, his trouser at his ankles. I shook my head slowly, my breath hitching in disbelief. Even if he hated me, even if he loathed the air I breathed, wasn't this too much? It was dirty and disgusting to watch, and it made me swallow hard. I walked with my back, captivated by the cruel scene I wanted to escape. A twig crunched underneath my feet, and Noah raised his head. Sweat beaded his forehead. His lips were parted as he huffed a breath, pushing in and out of a delirious Bella. She didn't even notice my presence, but he did. His lust-filled eyes sparkled, and his parted lips morphed into a smile, and then I realized He did this on purpose. This savage, disgusting display was for my benefit. He came out here to have intercourse expecting me to find them, and when he held my eyes, fear slithered down my spine from the hatred I saw reflected in his. My frozen legs forced me to watch as he drilled into another woman. He did this to hurt me, to twist my insides and squeeze my heart. I was dying inside, writhing in pain as my mate desecrated our bond. This man, this cruel man, was my mate, the goddess predestined for me. Despite the knife twisting my insides and tearing up my heart, I felt numb. I stood stock still, my blurry vision erasing the sight before me and my lungs squeezing, making breathing difficult. Ha, Noah, I'm gonna... The girl groaned some words which my ringing ears could not hear anymore. I couldn't see them anymore, couldn't hear them, and I could not move. My body locked into position with grief and heartbreak taking turns piercing my heart. What? Through my blurry vision, I saw the smaller of the two figures before me jump. What's this creep staring at? I heard Bella screech. Go away! I felt something hit my skin. She'd thrown sand at me, but I didn't move. Even though I wanted to run, I could not. Despite my fervent prayer for my breath to cease and for my existence to fade, nothing happened. I was unmoving in front of those that caused my pain. Hey, I'm talking to you. The knives drilling into my heart stopped, leaving behind pieces of my broken heart. Are you ignoring me? As soon as my vision cleared, it turned white and I saw stars. Bella yanked my hair backwards as she shouted, You're ignoring the future, Luna? She shouted, stomping on my foot. Bella! Noah spoke with a chill in his voice. Excuse us. His tone rang with finality, and the grip on my hair loosened. What? What do you want to do with her? She demanded. Don't tell me, she started with a shaky voice. Who are you to question me? Anger vibrated in his quiet tone. Get lost, he snarled at her, and she scrambled away, leaving me with the predator, with my feet still rooted to the ground as he stalked forward. You're even uglier when you cry, Noah whispered in my face, his finger twirling a lock of my hair. Noah Howard. He'd been 16 years old the last time I saw him. We never had anything to do with each other as we lived in different worlds within the same pack. Then, he was nothing more than a teenage boy who the elders felt was too irresponsible to take over the pack, so they sent him to the academy. He returned tonight to a surprise party, but I was the one that ended up being surprised. Noah Howard was my mate. Reject me, I said through gritted teeth. The pain in my heart intensified, and he grinned, his lips twisting into an ugly smile that had me shivering. Why should I? He asked with a chuckle. You don't want me, I reminded him. A few hours ago, he told me I wasn't worth standing beside him, so he should reject me. Make this rejection official. Where's the fun in that? He twirled my hair with a strange look in his eyes. I can't reject you, Carrot, he muttered. Not before I make you suffer. Why are you doing this? Tears stung my eyes again. You don't want me, so reject me, I shouted. My right ear rang as my head snapped to the side when he dealt me a heavy slap. Don't raise your voice at your superior. His soft voice tickled my ear. How dare you? His voice turned rough and his eyes darkened. My frozen legs finally unlocked in time for me to scramble back, but I could not escape him. How dare a piece of shit like you be my mate? He bellowed. Do you know who I am? How dare you mess up my plans like this? He advanced on me the more I scampered off. I didn't ask for him to be my mate. So why did he blame me? It's not as if I picked you, I cried in exasperation. What do you mean? Is there another man you would have picked if you got the chance? He growled, his face darkening even further. How dare a nobody like you act so superior? Who are you to accept my rejection with an okay? Do you have no fear? What are you even saying? I cried out. I know you don't want me. I know I can't stand by your side. Yes, I accepted that fact, so why are you angry? Did you want me to beg? Would you feel better if I fell on my face and grabbed your ankles begging you not to reject me? Would it change anything if you saw me miserable? I screamed, continuing to back away. Yes, he deadpanned. You should have begged, fallen on your face, and begged me to be with a worthless pile of trash like you, then I wouldn't be feeling this. he shouted, hitting his chest. A girl like you cannot be my mate. You've ruined everything. What have I done? I asked, my momentum dying as my grief choked me. I couldn't shout any more, could barely even speak. This is the goddess's doing, not mine. The heavens knew I would never have picked a mate like Noah in the first place. He was born arrogant. His pretty face and status blinded him at an early age, so he didn't know how to value others. In his eyes, everyone existed to serve him. It didn't even matter that he was the successor of a small pack, which made him a small fry in the midst of other alphas, so Noah Howard acted like a god in Red Lake, the only place people treated him with reverence. If you didn't exist, I would not have the misfortune of being your mate, he snarled. Yes, it was my fault for existing, my fault for being born. If I didn't exist, Noah wouldn't be mated to me. Perhaps the goddess would have given him Bella then, the perfect match for a man like him, but I had to exist. Why are you still alive, Carrot? I asked myself. Everyone wants you gone, so what do you exist for? If you won't reject me, I started with a heavy heart, then I will reject you. Taking a deep breath, I spoke. I, Carrot of Red Lake Pack, reject you, Noah Howard, as my mate. I hunched over as the stabbing in my heart continued. Tears blurred my vision for the nth time that night, but a chuckle came from above me. I refuse your rejection. He was the alpha, the more powerful of the two of us. It was unfair, but without his permission, our mate bond could not be broken. Before I let you go, I'll have to break you completely. His eyes sparkled with hatred. Maybe then I'll see what's inside you that gives you the audacity to hold up your head in my presence. He spat on my face. At the crack of dawn the next morning, a message came from the Alpha and Luna of Red Lake. That night, I could not sleep. I cried and cried until I had no tears left to cry. Despite that, there was no sleep. Anguish twisted my insides, a dull pain striking my heart at intervals. In the end, I sat up in bed and stared out the window into the night sky, wondering when all this would end, hoping I would catch a break from all the afflictions in my life. Carrot. Someone knocked hastily on my door. You better not be sleeping. I scrambled out of bed as my door flung open, banging against the wall. Did you not hear me knocking? Sylvia shouted, wagging a finger at me. I was just about to open the door, I muttered, rubbing my eyes with a pounding heart. Sylvia was the head of an Omega group, the one I belonged to. Even in that group, I was an outcast. Red Lake had a total of 74 wolves headed by Alpha Howard and Luna Grace. Despite our small size, Red Lake Pack had Beta and Omega packs, which were smaller units in the main pack headed by an Alpha or a Beta. Sylvia headed the smallest unit of the main pack, an Omega pack because she was the weakest Beta in Red Lake. The sub-pack comprised Omegas, and me. She hated me. Who are you talking back to? She sneered, closing the door behind her. I'm sorry. I hung my head with a burning throat. It hurt me to bow my head to these people all the time. It made my insides twist and my skin tighten, but I had no choice. In Red Lake Pack, I was the weak link, the bottom of the bottom, so I had to defer to everyone, or else I got beat up and starved for days. You should be sorry, Sylvia quipped, her fists clenched at her sides. It was clear she wanted to hit me, and I readied myself to shield my face, but to my surprise, she didn't hit me. Instead, her lips curled, and she eyed me from head to toe before letting out a sound of disgust. The Alpha wants to see you. My heart fell while my mind went into overdrive. Why? I asked with a gasp. It was a mistake. Silly girl! Sylvia bellowed, rushing me. She was an enormous woman, over 3 times my size, so when she ran into me, I, of course, fell back, wincing as I hit my tailbone, and at the same time her fist descended on me. Who are you to question me? She shouted. I'm going to knock some sense into you. What gives you the right to act so conceited? How dare you question me when I say the Alpha wants to see you? She punctuated each word with a hit. My face, my chest, my stomach, she hit me everywhere, and I didn't have it in me to block my face. I stayed still on the ground and withdrew into my shell. Inside my shell, I felt nothing. She hit my body, but I felt nothing. She called me names, but I heard nothing. In my shell, the world faded away and I was safe and sheltered, detached from the suffering I faced on a daily basis. Are you dead? Sylvia got off me, shaking my shoulders with more force than necessary. No, I responded. It didn't matter that I wished I was dead. I was alive still. Good, she spat. It's too late for you to die now. With those ominous words, she wrenched me off the floor and set me on my feet. My knees gave way and I tumbled back to the ground. For goddess's sake! She dragged me back up. Don't keep the alpha waiting. Okay, I mumbled, smoothing down my dress. This? Her eyes blazed again, and it looked like she was about to hit me. Wash your face before you leave, she snarled at me before leaving, slamming the door shut behind her. All the rooms in the pack house had bathrooms except mine. Every pack member stayed in the pack house for free except me. I was lucky to have a room even if the door was broken, and there was nothing in it but a small bed meant for a child. I laughed as I wiped my face with a wet rag, blood trickling down my nose. There wasn't much humor left in my world. Scratch that. There wasn't any humor at all. Last night, the only hope I had of being happy was cut off, and now it felt like I didn't have a reason to live. I was sick and tired, mostly tired, and I just wanted to close my eyes and embrace darkness forever. A part of me knew it was dangerous to have such thoughts, but I didn't care. I no longer cared about anything. I walked down the stairs and met Amanda coming up. Amanda was the head of the kitchen in the pack, and with the way her eyes lit up with red rage when she saw me, I knew she was coming upstairs to look for me. You? She pointed her trademark wooden spoon at me. Have you forgotten you're on kitchen duty with Fatima today? She shouted. The alpha called for me, I responded in a monotone. Ah! A strange look flashed in her eyes. Are you okay? A curious emotion crossed her face. I stared at her for a second, and then another. It was the first time anyone ever asked about my well-being, and I didn't know how to respond. Yes, I answered, and then continued on my way. A hand gripped my bicep, stopping me. Carrot, what's the matter? I recognized the look in her eyes then. It was worry, and it was the first time I ever saw it directed at me. Nothing. I pulled my arm from her grip. The alpha called for me, so I'll be on my way. I wondered what she saw in my eyes. What did you see, Amanda? Why are you suddenly worried about me? I was too tired to care. The world was gray as I trudged to the alpha's home a few blocks away from the pack house. Someone said something to me as I passed, but I didn't hear her. I couldn't understand the resignation that washed over me. Neither did I understand how fast it has come, but I was tired. I wanted to close my eyes. You're here. The Luna opened the door before I knocked. Carrot? She sounded dubious, as if she could not believe her eyes. Good morning, Luna. I bowed my head in respect. Are you all right? She asked, her brows furrowing. Yes. I gave the same response I gave Amanda. The alpha called for me? I asked, a strange cold spreading inside me. Oh, right. She laughed, the sound awkward. Come in. She held the door open for me to enter, so I did. The Luna of a pack was supposed to be a mother to all the wolves in her pack, but this woman was nothing but a vain person who only cared for herself and her vain son. One didn't need to look hard to see who Noah got his awful personality from. Carrot, are you sick? The alpha entered the room and did a double take. No. My voice came out in a monotone. You called for me? I asked, and his face hardened. Right, yes. He cleared his throat. There's something we need to discuss. Let's wait for Noah. Here he is. Noah came down the stairs with water dripping from his hair and a discreet smirk on his lips. You're here. His voice was cold, but his eyes laughed at me. Yes, I answered like a broken doll. The alpha called for me. As you know, Alpha Howard started, Red Lake is trying to form alliances with other packs. I didn't know that. The only thing I knew about this pack was the location of the things in the kitchen and the laundry room. Those were the only things I needed to know. Alpha Norman of Silver Lake just lost his mate, so he is looking to mate with someone else. Noah has suggested you as a good fit for the alpha. The cold in my body spread through my bones. We sent him a letter last night, and he responded early this morning to show you how eager he is. Howard was the eager one if his broad smile was anything to go by. Alpha Norman has accepted you as his next mate. The mating ceremony will be next month, after Noah's succession ceremony. Okay, the word easily slipped from my lips. Stunned silence met my word. I looked at the three people sitting across from me, and they all wore varying expressions of surprise. Is that all? I added. The Luna was the first to recover from her shock. Ah, of course not. She gave me a smile sweeter and falser than Bella's. My room is a mess. I was going to call someone from your sub-pack to arrange it, but since you're here, you'll help me out, won't you, sweetie? She fluttered her lashes. Okay, I mumbled. Is that the only word you know now? Noah shouted, jumping up from his seat between his parents. What the deuce? Noah, Alpha Howard cut him off with a stern glare. I'll go clean the room if you'll excuse me. I stood and climbed the stairs to the Luna's room without looking back. It was a house I had cleaned over 100 times, so I knew my way around. When I entered the room, a cool breeze blew in from the open balcony. I walked over to close the balcony door, picking up clothes as I went, but when I got to the balcony, I paused. Holding the railings, I looked down at the ground beneath me while my hands trembled. I'd never considered it before, but I was so tired that morning. Was it because I spent the previous night crying instead of sleeping? Or was it the rotten lemons life gave me? Either way, I wanted to close my eyes and sleep. Do you want to jump? A soft voice tinged with laughter tickled my skin. It's funny, he started, his eyes cold and cruel. Until yesterday, you held your head high and spoke with indifference, but now... He stopped with a quick burst of laughter. Now you seem dead. His eyes twinkled. I wanted to see you broken, but it's no fun if you break this easily. A menacing expression took over his face. He stepped closer to me, forcing me to take a step back. My back hit the cold railings. Do you now know your place, Carrot? He snorted with a grin fit for the devil's lips. I always knew my place. Never once did I attempt to reach higher than my status. I didn't even ask them to pay attention to me, nor did I ask them to love me. When they hit me, I told myself it was because I deserved it, and when they took food from my table, I urged myself to do better, to be better. Red Lake was never my home, and I knew that even as a child. I had no family here, no purpose, and no relevance. I thanked the Alpha and his Luna for letting me stay in the pack, even when I did not shift at 15 like every other wolf. I knew my place in this pack. My place was to serve, but no matter how hard I bent over, it wasn't enough. I didn't like to bow my head. Bending over to please these people hurt me. But I learnt my place early, so despite how difficult it was to swallow my pride, I did it all the time, to the point where my pride was easier to swallow, because it was almost non-existent now. Am I not talking to you, Carrot? My gaze snapped up at the sound of rage in Noah's voice. I blinked up at him, his outline a blur in front of me. He was too close, dangerously close, and despite how much I hated it, my body was attuned to his. The heat emanating from his body warmed the cold spreading inside me, but it was not enough. The cold was greater. It spread faster. Carrot. It was my name. Not a nickname, but the name I was given at birth by my mother, who promptly abandoned me in the hospital. I didn't have red hair, so my name had no justification. Did my mother like carrots? Did she eat a lot of carrots while pregnant with me? Or did she hate carrots? I'd never know because I never met her. The Luna asked me to arrange her bedroom. I responded in a monotone, hollowness spreading inside me. If you'll excuse me, I tried to step past him, but he stopped me. You saucy chit, he growled with eyes flashing. It would be better for you to jump. Strong hands shoved me, and my world titled on its axis as I went into free fall. For a split second, my mouth opened in a scream, and I reached up a hand, trying to grab at him, at the railing, at anything. When my widened eyes met his laughing ones, the scream died in my throat and the cold void inside me spread. I closed my eyes and everything faded to black. Beep, beep, beep. An incessant and annoying sound reached me through the darkness. After the sound, pinpricks of discomfort pushed into my skin. My throat burned and my head pounded a rowdy rhythm. You're awake." An unfamiliar man stood beside me with a blinding white dress and a subtle scowl. "Do you know your name?" Even in my ringing ears, he sounded impatient. "Carrot," I mumbled with a tight throat. How was I still here? Noah pushed me off the balcony, and though it was only a one-story, I thought I was done for. So except the afterlife looked like a hospital ward, I didn't die. "Yes, Carrot." His gaze grew even sterner. "How many fingers am I holding up?" "2," I responded. He pursed his lips and jotted something in his notepad. The waves of anger wafting off him made me shiver. The cold inside me earlier had receded, leaving me with a clear mind. "What?" I wanted to ask the doctor what happened, but he cut me a sharp look. "Why did you do it?" he asked, the words bubbling from his lips as if he'd tried hard to keep them at bay, but failed. "Do what?" I blinked in the face of his anger. "Why did you jump?" he shouted. "Because of you?" His brown eyes lit up with unconcealed rage. "As a pack, we have helped you despite your irrelevance to us, and when it's time to do one good thing for the pack, you attempt to kill yourself." He glared at me. Attempt what?" I asked with a dumb expression. Laughter bubbled up from inside me. Sui." The laughter burst out, my entire body burning with pain as I laughed. Is that the story? Tears spilt from the corners of my eyes as I laughed. My laughter turned to sobs in a second. "Alpha Noah hasn't eaten a meal in the week since he found you jumping out of his mother's balcony. That's how much your actions traumatized him." The accusation shining in the doctor's eyes would make even an innocent man feel guilty. "How could you be so cruel? Is this how you repay us for taking care of you all this time, even if we didn't have to? You're not even a member of Red Lake Pack, but we helped you." It was true that I wasn't a member of Red Lake Pack. It was possible that I had a pack, a family out there, but I didn't know of them. According to the stories I heard, my birth mother came to Red Lake Pack heavily pregnant and distressed. Her boyfriend left her when he found out she was with child, so she came to Red Lake Pack to escape the grief. They say my mother was a beautiful woman, so Alpha Howard let her stay, but the minute she gave birth to me, she ran from the pack, abandoning me with them. It was the reason I served them so diligently. I didn't have a home or a family and didn't know a life outside of Red Lake Pack. Despite how bitter I felt having to serve them as a cheap servant, I didn't have anywhere else to go if they kicked me out. So I endured. I wiped my tears silently in my room and came out every morning with my head held high and my heart heavy. The bullying, the abuse, the humiliation, I endured it all because I had nowhere to run to. "Thank you for keeping me," I answered the doctor. For the longest time, I felt I had to repay Red Lake for keeping me, but now I realized I had long since paid my debt. I earned my keep in this pack, worked through rain and sunshine to cater for the wolves in this pack without pay or appreciation. They gave me the protection of a pack, but I would be better off in the wilderness. "What are you saying?" the doctor sneered. "How can a nobody like you be so arrogant?" It was my greatest flaw in the eyes of the wolves of Red Lake Pack. No matter how much I bent over, my back remained stiff, and no matter how much they beat me down, I still rose from the dirt with my head held high. I didn't know why or how I did it, but something in me couldn't stand me wallowing in dirt and pity. I wouldn't call myself a fighter, but I fought to retain even a shred of my dignity. The door burst open before I formed a reply for the doctor. Noah rushed in with eye bags surrounding his bloodshot eyes. "You're awake." His shoulder hunched forward and relief echoed in his voice. "You tried to kill me." I felt a peal of familiar maniacal laughter bubbling in my throat. No matter what these people did to me, I never considered taking my life. It was a flitting thought I had the other day, one that I didn't let take root, but Noah Howard, he pushed me off his mother's balcony. "What are you saying?" It was the doctor that jumped to his defense. "You tried to kill yourself because you didn't want to mate with Alpha Norman. Do you understand the stigma that puts on us as a pack? Do you know how much talk has been circulating about Alpha Norman now? A lowly Omega would rather kill herself than be his mate." He turned red in the face as he shouted, spittle flying everywhere. "Doctor," Noah called in a cold voice. "Please, leave us for a minute." "I haven't conducted the necessary checkup yet," the man argued, but one look from Noah had him clamming up, going as white as snow before he nodded and scrambled out of the room, shutting the door with Noah and I alone. The air of regret and anxiousness around him faded, and his downturned lips rose to form the ghost of a smile. He still looked tired, but his eyes were alive as he smirked at me. Then he opened his mouth. "I told you I would break you completely, didn't I?" Sadism gleamed in his eyes as he smiled. "Did you think I would let you die?" He laughed, the sound low and guttural. "If you wanted to kill yourself, you should have done it before I found out we were mates." I smiled as he continued to hound me. "Do I make you feel inferior, Noah?" I asked with a broad smile. The cruel look on his face faded to a blank one. Then his face went red and his body stiffened. "Who are you to make me feel inferior?" he snarled, a bit of his wolf pushing into his words. "That's what I've been thinking." I wore a pensive expression, gritting my teeth against the pinpricks of pain turning to sharp stabs. "Does my pride upset you, Noah?" He wanted me to beg on the floor to be his mate. He wanted to savor the sight of me broken and humiliated in public because of him. But I didn't give him that satisfaction. The wolves of Red Lake told me several times that I needed to know my place, and over the years, I learned my place. My place was not beside the alpha. It was the reason I let him go so easily, despite my heartbreaking that day.
I knew on instinct that I would never be Noah's maid, whether I licked the ground he walked on while crawling on my hands and knees. "Yes," he answered with a casual shrug. "Your pride upsets me. It wasn't as if I was proud. I just retained a bit of my self-respect in the face of bullies who wanted me to crawl on my belly and kiss their feet."
They hated me because they could not crush me into fine powders and mold a perfectly submissive slave, and now Noah had taken it upon himself to break me. I didn't want to admit it out loud, but I was scared. My insides shivered as cold spread through me. I was deathly terrified that he would succeed. For the 20 years of my life, Red Lake tried to knock me down permanently, but I always found a way to stand. Now Noah Howard may find a way to break me forever. It's upsetting to see a nobody like you go about like you have the world at your feet. His eyes blazed with malice. "I've hated you since I set eyes on you, and now, after you so calmly accepted my rejection, I hate you even more. Garbage should act like garbage, not like the queen." "This garbage could be the queen one day," I muttered, tired of this sickening conversation. He burst into laughter. "I just woke up from a near-death experience, and the first person to enter my room was this devil. It wasn't my fault that Noah had such a big ego that would not be assuaged unless he trampled on everyone in his pack, including the one already trampled upon. He had issues, more issues than I knew or cared to know of. His issues sent him to the Alpha Academy to learn some sense of responsibility, but he came back as a sadistic bully instead. "Yes, you're totally the Alpha Prince's type," he snorted. "An ugly, wolfless wench like you will make a good queen," he added with a derisive chuckle. "Tell me, Carrot, do you have a crush on the prince? Is that why you calmly accepted my rejection? Do you have a stupid dream of meeting him by chance and falling in love?" His eyes sparkled like he'd never heard a bigger joke than this before. "I accepted your rejection because I don't want you." The words felt like a partial lie as I spoke. "But you can't help but want me." His eyes and tone softened. "We are mates after all, so when I'm with another woman it's going to tear into you and you're going to feel miserable." I opened my mouth to cuss at him, but the door banged open. The Alpha and Luna walked in with scary expressions on their faces. "You lowly hussy." The Luna was the first to speak and the first to strike me. I'd fallen from the balcony of her room and almost died, but to show her thankfulness that I didn't die, she hit me as hard as she could, and then her hands wrapped around my neck. "Mum." Noah grabbed her hands wrapped around my throat. "What the hell are you doing?" he bellowed, trying to wrestle her off me. The more he fought her off, the tighter she choked me. I couldn't say anything. My shoulders tightened and my stomach became rock hard. My heart raced, almost exploding in my chest, and everything felt as if it was going to end in a second. My Luna, the mother of my pack, squeezed the air out of my lungs with cold malice in her eyes. "She wants to die, so I should kill her," she shouted in a shrill voice, her eyes dark and fixated on me. "This little hussy. Who are you to cause so much trouble? She squeezed harder. Grace, Noah called his mother by her first name, his tone sending chills down my cold body. Let her go. He wasn't the alpha yet, but her hands loosened their grip on my throat. She was the Luna, higher than him in status, but when he added, "Before I get pissed off," her hands fell from my throat and tears stained her eyes. "Noah, why are you defending this whore?" The Luna cried like her son's girlfriend. "She has caused so much trouble for us. Alpha Norman is withdrawing all his support for our pack because of this insult." Ha. If I lived, they cussed at me, but if I died, they also cussed at me. Tears stung my eyes, and I rubbed my reddened throat. The Luna's strong grip crushed my windpipes, and I hacked for breath on my hospital bed while the family held a discussion, ignoring my existence. "I didn't save her life to have you kill her," Noah growled. "Don't be stupid now," he snapped. "Don't talk to your mother like that," Alpha Howard growled. "If she wasn't so stupid—" He started with a snarl but then stopped when his eyes caught mine. "If you kill her, then the deal with Alpha Norman is gone forever." "It's gone already," Luna Grace screeched. "He has asked us to send back the gifts he sent the other day." She swerved on her heels to glare at me, and I cowered, shielding my face. "You're not even pretty, so how can you object to having a rich mate?" she hissed. Did she say a rich mate? Alpha Norman had lost half his fortune in a legal battle after having adult relations with a 12-year-old. His mate, who just died, turned 18 on the day he married her. I would be the oldest of the 3 mates he had taken in his lifetime, and he was already 52. They were selling me off to a disgusting, perverted old man, and they acted like I should be grateful to them. If audacity had a face, it would look a lot like Luna Grace, the crazy, pretentious woman. It's not gone. Noah's eyes had a twinkle in them. She's alive, so she can get married. His words stunned the room. But she tried to kill herself rather than marry him. It's not a good look for him to mate with her after that, Luna Grace pointed out. The Alpha stood at the sideline, listening to his family make plans. It was no secret that Luna Grace ran this pack with her son, while the Alpha stood as a ceremonial head. "Let him worry about his reputation," Noah said with a shrug. "Don't you think it would be good for them to be mated? That way he can decide her punishment for smearing his name." He showed an evil grin that exposed all his teeth. "That's a good idea," the Alpha butted in, and his son's grin widened. "But the lunatic can try to kill herself again." "The mating would have originally taken place in 3 weeks," Noah pointed out. I lay there with pain making my body ache while they planned how to trade me like a piece of meat. "Lock her in the dungeons until then. There's no way for a prisoner to commit suicide." "Ah, you're a genius!" the Alpha laughed, smacking his son's shoulder jovially. Noah only gave a small and irritating smile. "Doctor!" the Alpha bellowed. Thus, I woke up in the hospital from a near-death experience, and then I was shipped off to the dungeons in my hospital gown. They put handcuffs on me like a prisoner and threw me into a cell, my shoulder scraping against the wall and my skin tearing open. The guard locked the gate and Noah stood outside, a smirk on his lip and a twinkling in his eyes. At that moment, he looked like a devil sending me to hell. "You're a fun toy," he whispered. Then, something inside me snapped and a dam exploded. My heart pounded in my ears as I gnashed my teeth. Red covered my vision as I watched his retreating back. "For the evil you have sown, I will be sure you reap 10 times of it," I vowed in my heart. "Even if it takes my last breath, I will do everything in my power to make you suffer, Noah Howard, and your pack will be reduced to rubble." Red Lake had drained my will to live over the years, but it was renewed at that moment. I cannot die until I ruin this pack. I lost track of time locked in the dungeons like a filthy criminal. At first, I tried to count the days, but the place was dark. I could not tell when night came, or when the sun rose high in the skies. Every day was filled with darkness and pain. My body still hurt from being pushed off the balcony. I may have broken something inside, but there was no way to tell because there was no doctor to examine me. Often, the pain in my body tripled, and tears spilt down my cheeks before I had time to hold them back. And every time this happened, I knew my mate was getting intimate with another woman. This was the reason he didn't reject me. He wanted me to be in pain every day as he desecrated our sacred bond. I thought I lived an awful life until I met my mate. Noah showed me that I'd been living a happy life before he returned to the pack. Sometimes he visited the dungeons, but he never came to my cell. I didn't see him, but I felt him, much to my annoyance. Although he was meters away, my body was attuned to him in a way that could not be explained. I hated it. It made me hate him the more, and I wanted it all to end. My eyes were closed and my stomach in knots when my body froze. Hunger made me delirious sometimes, but this time it was so much worse. They hadn't brought food for me in a long time. The moldy bread and dirty water I got at intervals couldn't be called a meal, but it saved me from starvation. I hadn't received a portion in what must have been days. While I groaned in agony, I scented the last person I wanted to see in this life. Although I hated him, my body reacted to him. I thought he had come for his normal round of inspection, but I felt him get closer and closer to my cell, and then I saw him. Miss me? He gave a boyish grin, tilting his head to the side as the enforcer opened the door. He was dressed in a black tuxedo, his hair slicked back, and an expensive watch on his wrist. Do you like my watch? He held out his hand to my face, and my body reacted to his scent. It was animalistic to feel this way about someone who put me through all these, but the goddess had wired me with these emotions. I liked his scent. Are you too hurt to play with me? He stroked my dirty hair. Even though I brought food? It was then I noticed the platter he held in one hand. I'd been so consumed by two opposite emotions warring inside me at the sight of him that I missed the tantalizing scent of food. Here. He shoved a pitcher of water at me. Drink. The water splashed on my face as he started to pour, and like a dog, I opened my mouth and lapped at the clean water pouring. A chuckle came from above me, but I closed my eyes. It didn't matter if he laughed at me. All I cared about was satisfying the thirst that felt as deep as my soul. He could laugh all he wanted, but I would lap at the water he poured on my face like a starved dog because I was nothing more than a starved dog at that point. Where is your dignity? He snickered, setting the pitcher of water aside. More water had poured on me than entered my mouth, leaving me thirstier than I was before he gave me water. It's too early for you to break, Carrot. I'm not done playing with you yet. To this bastard, I was nothing more than a plaything, a toy for his amusement, a thing he could toss around as he wanted without care of it breaking. Sometimes he acted soft and concerned for me, and in the days since I'd been locked up in the dim dungeons, I wondered if he didn't feel even a shred of emotion for me. I hated him with every fiber of my being, but the barely formed mate bond made me feel weird things for him. For example, his scent made my stomach clench, and it wasn't due to disgust. It made me think it was possible that he felt even a shred of emotion for me. That's why he acted nice sometimes. What I didn't consider then was that Noah Howard was a psychopath that had chosen me as his victim. Are you hungry? He opened the plate he brought, and my mouth watered. Yes, I muttered, as I swallowed the saliva pooling in my mouth. I'm starving. There was no point denying my hunger. He could see it in my ravenous eyes and the bones in my body. Will you beg me to feed you? His eyes sparkled in anticipation. Something inside me gnashed, but I silenced it. I'd vowed to myself that before I died, I would make sure to spit on Noah Howard's grave. If I had to beg the bastard to stay alive till I got my revenge against all those that hurt me in this pack, then so be it. You have to wait for me. Wait to die by my hands, Noah. No one else can kill you. Please, I muttered in a raspy and cracked voice. Please feed me. I'm hungry and starving. I coughed, something tickling my throat. Beg more sincerely, he said in glee. Beg on your knees. I fell to my knees, and his lips quirked up. That's more like it, Carrot. His eyes darkened, and a weird heat flickered across his face. This is where you belong. He pressed my head down, shoving me lower. You belong at my feet, not beside me. Yes, Alpha. His cold demeanor had me stuttering through the harsh treatment. My body crumpled like a piece of paper when he shoved me again. I fell on my stomach, my hands handcuffed behind me. Please, Alpha, please don't let me starve to death. You beg so prettily. His eyes gleamed as he squatted beside me. All right, since you begged and I am a benevolent leader, I will feed you. He straightened. Stand up, then. How would I stand? My hands were cuffed behind me and I was on my stomach on the filth ground and my tired body could barely move. It's going to be quite difficult, he snickered. But you can manage it, can't you? Laughter tinged his words and I nodded. It may be difficult, but it could not be as difficult as the life I lived. It took a couple of tries, but I rolled on my back, kicked my feet, and pushed myself to a sitting position. My body was weak, my legs trembling as I kicked up to a sitting position, but I pushed myself. Good. You're a good girl. Noah stroked and patted my hair slowly as if we were lovers. I retched at even the thought. When I sat up, he fed me, his eyes gentle and his movements kind. Maybe this was what he wanted, a woman who he could treat as a dog, and she would bark when he wanted. Unfortunately, I could never be that woman. I'm going to become the alpha in a few hours, he muttered as I chewed. You won't be able to witness the ceremony. He sounded distraught, but I was only half listening. Your mating is also in 7 days. Your mate is sponsoring my ceremony, so I thought you should eat from the food we would feast on today, thanks to you. He fed me. He overfed me, but I could not complain. My stomach hurt, but I would be meek even if it was the last time. I have to go now. He stood, abandoning the food he came with. We will see on your wedding day. With that, he exited the dungeons and the enforcer locked up behind him. Laughter burst from my throat when he left. Wait for me, Noah, I thought. Wait for me to get my revenge on you. Don't die before then. Carrot. My eyes opened in the dark cell to see Amanda's blazing red hair. She had an apron tied around her and her eyes darted around the place. It's the handing over ceremony today, so there are fewer enforcers around. A man appeared beside her and opened my cell door. This is your only chance to escape. Her words took time to register in my mind. Why are you doing this? I asked as the man uncuffed me. He'd kill you if he finds out. Noah had been sent to the academy to be reformed, but he came back worse. It's just, you're a good girl. It was a stupid reason to set me free, but I didn't question it as I stood. Forget about this pack. Mother, we have to tell her. The enforcer taking off my handcuffs spoke. No, Andrew, not a word, Amanda became stern. If what you saw is the truth, then we should not interfere too much, she said to her son. Then she turned to me. Just go. We are doomed anyway. She hurried me. It was impossible for me to forget about a pack I planned to destroy, but I nodded and hurried out as fast as my shaky legs could carry me. Amanda and her son bade me farewell as I broke into a run that night. My heart pounded, my legs trembled, and tears spilt down my cheeks as I ran. It'd be faster if I had a wolf to shift into, but I didn't. I didn't have a wolf, so I ran on my two thin human legs. My lips and chin trembled and my chest hurt. Of course, my body hurt. I'd been pushed out of a building a month ago, and I didn't have a wolf to heal me. Neither had I received proper treatment. Images of Noah catching up with me and throwing me back into the cold and smelly cell made me run faster even as my legs trembled and my knees buckled more than once. I ran like my clothes were on fire, weaving through numerous unfamiliar forests. We were a small pack with a small land, and I could only hope I'd exited Red Lake after running for so long. I kept running until I exited the woods, and then a blinding light shone on my face and my legs froze going into lockdown mode. Get out of the way! I heard a powerful voice shout before my legs gave out, and my world went black. Is she waking? I heard the voices of two strange men while I was stuck in darkness with aches all over my body. We didn't hit her. Why isn't she waking? The other man sounded irritated. Goddess, I don't have time to waste. I didn't know you were this enthusiastic to see Scarlett. The other man snickered. Pick her up. The man being teased ignored the jokey. Pick her up, let's go. Hey, wait. What do you mean pick her up? The other man's voice pitched higher. While the men argued, I tried to open my eyes. A sense of urgency prevailed over me, although I couldn't remember what the need for urgency meant. Even in my state of semi-consciousness, I knew I was running from someone, from something, and I had to run faster. My eyelids were too heavy to open, and my body felt like a boulder rested atop me, crushing me to the ground and making my tight chest tighten more. You're wasting time, my inner voice berated me. My body temperature rose as I tried to force my eyes open to escape the blanket of darkness around me, but nothing happened much as I tried. Do you want us to leave her out here? A harsh voice snapped. Pick her up and put her in the car. Let's go. Yes, Alpha. A third voice reached me in the darkness as hands reached for me. But that's kidnapping, isn't it? The more normal of the voices asked. We can't just take a random person from the roads while they are unconscious. Orion, you're getting on my nerves. A growl that sent a shiver down my frozen spine sounded in the darkness of the night. We either leave her here, or we take her along. I don't have time to waste waiting for a fainted girl to wake up. You're too harsh, Killian. After that, I sank deeper into the cold abyss of darkness. The next time I regained a fraction of my consciousness, I was on a soft bed and someone was cleaning me with a cold rag. Strange voices sounded around me, and the side of my face burned as if someone was glaring at me. You said he brought her? A strange woman's voice entered my ears. The voice was filled with disdain and anger. A voice that could have belonged to Bella if it didn't carry the distinct power of an alpha she-wolf, yes. He carried her in his arms and brought her here. Then he asked us to watch over her. Another unfamiliar female voice responded. She was the one cleaning me if the proximity of her voice was anything to go by. Do you know what their relationship is, Scarlet? Yet another feminine voice. The heat at the side of my face intensified, and it seared me awake. The darkness around me receded, but I didn't blink my eyes. My danger senses were going off the roof. I didn't know what I would meet when I opened my eyes, so I kept them shut, intent on observing my surrounding with my other senses. Where was I and who were these people? Last I remembered, I was fleeing Noah and his pack. Then I fell unconscious in front of someone's carriage and they carried me. Did they take me to a clinic? I know you're awake. A voice colder than ice touched my skin. Almost on instinct, my eyes opened, and I came face to face with a girl with fire-red hair and emerald-green eyes peering into my face with a harsh glare. The look in her eyes told me she wanted me to combust and for my ashes to vanish into thin air. That look was familiar, one I had seen a lot of times, but I'd never seen such a look directed at me by someone who I didn't know. Who are you? The lady demanded, her emerald eyes darkening. And what's your relationship with Killian? Killian. That name sounded familiar, like a name I should know, but my scrambled brain didn't attach a face to the said name, so I assumed I didn't know the person. Who are you? I asked. To my chagrin, my voice sounded broken and tired, weak. Her eyes sparkled when she heard my voice. It was as if it confirmed her suspicion that I was nobody to be concerned about. You don't know who I am? Her expression tightened, but her eyes were merry. Great. I ran away from one psychopath only to run into another. I asked first, so you have to answer me first. Her merry words spread a chill through the room. The other women had gone silent before, but now they went still. I may not have a wolf and I may have awful instincts, but I knew danger well, had courted it often, so I recognized the power she imbued into her voice as she questioned me with a false smile and light tone. C. Carrot. I stuttered my name with blood draining from my face. How dare you? My insides trembled, and my heartbeat sped up at the calm question that hit me like a tornado. This woman was not one to be taken lightly. I heard it in the way her tone deepened, felt it in the way her glare sharpened, and saw it in the way her eyes grew cold and hard. The aura she exuded overwhelmed me. It may be because she was the first alpha she-wolf I ever met, but I knew it had to be more than that. It was more than that. How dare you mock me? My eyes bulged as her hand wrapped around my throat and she squeezed. She had dainty, soft hands, but when they tightened around my throat, my mouth dried up like a dessert and my chest tightened to the point of pain. It was just the other day that Luna Grace wrapped her hand around my throat and squeezed with both her hands, but her strength was nothing compared to the strength of this woman. She cut off my air supply and had me gasping for air, clawing at her hands, taking my life. Scarlet is this. This isn't a good idea, someone said. My life flashed before my eyes. I thought of my plan to ruin Noah, to destroy Red Lake, and to find my family. All the plans I made in the dungeons were about to be destroyed because I wandered into this strange place and met this strange woman. No, no, I can't die like this. I never even lived. How can I die like this after I managed to escape Red Lake? Did the goddess curse me? How could one person be so unfortunate? When Noah shoved me out of his mother's balcony, when the Luna tried strangling me to death, when they starved me in the dungeons, when I ran into a racing carriage, none of those times brought me as close to death's doorstep as quickly as this girl did. Killian brought him herself, Scar, a frightened girl muttered. If you kill her like this... She left her words to hang. Did he bring this whore here to taunt me? Her grip on my throat tightened. I clawed at her hand, but she did not budge. Who the fuck is this hussy that has the audacity to call me Carrot? The fight left me. A familiar cold spread through my insides, and I opened my arms to embrace it. Black dots spotted my vision. Scarlet, they are done with the meeting. A boy rushed into the room and saved my life. She jumped from the bed, her hand falling from my throat as if she wasn't just trying to kill me. A smile bloomed on her face, but then she caught my gaze and grew cold again. Killian is mine, she snarled. I don't know who you are, but stay away from him. I wanted to ask who the hell Killian was, but I shut my mouth. Leave this place before I end you myself. With that, she left the room with her friend, leaving me alone with the woman who'd been nursing me. Ah, you have to avoid him now. The woman seemed mournful. Scarlet is a nice girl, but she, alpha wolves are quite possessive, and she has her sights set on him, so it's best to give up whatever thing you have together. She gave me an imploring look that I did not understand. You should leave now before she returns. She handed me a shabby dress. I didn't need telling twice. After escaping Red Lake, I wasn't going to wait to be killed by a random crazy wench who thought I was dragging an unknown man with her. Pushing to my wobbly feet, I exited the house and broke into a run. It's a whole wilderness outside of a pack, I thought to myself. How many hours ago did I escape Red Lake only to run into enemies? I was about to slink into unfamiliar woods when I saw an unattended carriage. This is a bad idea, a part of me thought, but the other part understood that I had no wolf. It would be easier for me to escape this place in a carriage, and the goddess provided this one. I hid in the luggage compartment of a stranger's carriage, my heart in my throat and my clammy body sweating buckets. Noah. Congratulations on becoming alpha. My father slapped a hand on my shoulder. How does it feel to be in this position of power? His eyes twinkled and he laughed, but I read the worry he tried to conceal deep within his beady eyes. Now I can throw you out the way you threw me out. I grinned at the bastard that called me his son. Ha ha ha, you're funny, Noah. He patted my back, but he knew I was not bluffing. My first order of business in this rat hole of a pack would be to throw out this man who waited too long to hand over my birthright because he was afraid I would misuse my power. I'm not joking. The steel in my words made him gulp. Did you think I would forgive you for sending me away? But I didn't send you away. Sweat beaded his forehead, and my wolf smirked. The Alpha Academy is a prestigious institute to attend. Why are you mad that you got the privilege to go there? No matter the sugarcoating, the truth was that my father and his elders sent me off to what can best be described as a military school filled with rich kids who liked to remind me I was nothing, nobody. No one knew Red Lake. We were a tiny dot on the map and in an academy that even the Alpha Prince had attended. It was humiliating to be the alpha of such a small pack. They sent me there to be humbled, and now that I returned, I had to set my plans into motion. Red Lake would be the greatest pack in the world, even greater than Dark Moon. I would make sure of it. I'm not mad I got in. I smiled at my father. Far from that, I am happy that I got the chance to see the world beyond this tiny place. It gave me a lot of ideas. I miss Carrot, my wolf muttered, breaking the conversation with my father. Can't we check up on her? We saw her less than 3 hours ago. I shut the mud up. We will see her next week. She's going to be mated to another man soon. Shouldn't we get a fill of her before she is sold off? The mutt got worked up. You're starting to piss me off. We can't give Alpha Norman a woman that is not a virgin, I reminded my wolf. He won't stand for it. Carrot would help me get the alliance with Alpha Norman, and then she would also help me take over the pack. My lips lifted of their own accord. Are you thinking of your mate? My father asked, trying to change the subject. Yes. The words flowed from my lips in a tone sweeter than honey. Bella is a nice girl. You're lucky. I snorted at his naivety. Bella, my mate? None of the women in this god-forsaken pack was worthy of standing beside me. Bella was nothing but a ditzy blonde that sucked cock better than the rest of the girls. She had zero appeal to me. Does Carrot appeal to you? My wolf asked in a sly tone. She's daring, that's for sure. I laughed out loud. My father's gaze sharpened. She's the most useless person in this pack, but she holds her head up high. It annoyed me that she was starting to break. I wanted her to hold out a bit longer. Her dead eyes did not appeal to me. No, I wanted her eyes to sparkle with her stubbornness, right as I took the light from her eyes. She was thin as a stick with dirty and torn clothes. Nothing more than a slave, but she dared raise her head in my presence and look me in the eye. In Red Lake, everyone worshipped the ground I walked on, but not that wench. I wanted her to lick my shoes. The fire in her eyes would be fun to extinguish. When I returned to this dead pack, thoughts of upgrading it to a pack worth respecting filled my mind. But then I met my mate, a silly girl that did not know her place. I hated her at once, but she was interesting. I laughed again. Do you love Bella already? You seem quite happy, my stupid father piped in. Only fools love. I plucked those words straight from Prince Killian's lips, and he was right. A man like him who could even murder his brother in cold blood for the throne was my biggest inspiration. If a bastard like Killian could become the alpha prince next in line for the throne, then I could become the greatest alpha on the planet with Red Lake. That's not true, my father, the weakling said. Love is a beautiful thing that strengthens. Look at your mother and I. Grace has been my strength in the 22 years since I took over Red Lake, and our love? She's fucking your beta, I cut off his stupid rant. Even a fool would know that my mother didn't even like my father, not to talk of loving him. What? He paled. Love was nothing but a hindrance, and in the words of Prince Killian, I would rather bathe in blood than love. When Alpha Norman plants his seed in Carrot, I would kill him and claim my mate. Before then, I had to get rid of his numerous bastards to make Carrot's heir the next alpha to Silver Lake Pack. Then we could mate. After mating with her, I would automatically become the stand-in leader of Silver Lake, pending when her son comes of age. Unfortunately, neither she nor her son would see the day he took over the pack. With Silver Lake Pack under me, I would be able to conquer more packs. It may take a while to happen, but I would see it happen in my lifetime. Alpha, a dungeon enforcer, rushed into the banquet reserved for only the deserving members of Red Lake. He wasn't a deserving member. The girl, Carrot, sweat poured off him like rainwater. My wolf went on alert. She's gone, isn't she? I fought down laughter. Find her, that's the thing. We have searched for the past hour, but it's like she disappeared. She's been gone for an hour, and you're just now telling me? People turned to stare as my voice raised. I came, but they didn't let me in. He shivered from whatever he saw in my eyes. It must have been his death. You have no excuse. Gather all the wolves in this darn pack and find her. She can't have gone far, my wolf muttered, hiding his distress. She can't shift, so she'll be easy to find. Noah, what's the matter? My mum walked over from flirting with another alpha. Red Lake is going into lockdown. No one enters or exits the borders, no matter who. Find Carrot, I shouted at the people gathering around. Find that fucking whore. My heart pounded loud enough for everyone to hear. Baby, what's the matter? Bella rushed over to me with her infamous pout. Is anything? Don't touch me. I shoved her away from me, and someone gasped. This little... I calmed my temper and exited the banquet hall. Where the hell did the wench go, and how did she escape the dungeons? Noah! Bella rushed towards me. I was about to snap when I noticed the man beside her. He's the one. He let her out of the dungeons. He was an enforcer assigned to the dungeons. Why? I cleared my throat, swallowing the question. You'll be hanged first thing tomorrow morning. The guard standing with me bundled him up. "You are cursed already," the man shouted. "I've seen it. I've seen it all. You're going to die like a chicken with an unmarked grave." Do you still pretend to be a seer, Andrew? I remembered this bastard from my childhood. He used to prophesy about the future, but no one ever took him seriously. He dropped out of school one day to become a low-level enforcer and no one questioned him. He was nothing but the pack lunatic and carrot, he shouted. "She will be the one to bring about your end." A smile bloomed on his face before he burst into laughter that chilled my blood. "I've seen it all. Noah and I don't feel sorry for you." "Find her," I muttered to the man standing beside me. "Dead or alive, find Carrot." "Noah," my wolf growled and I sighed. That wench was worthless, but my wolf had a soft spot for her. "No, find her alive." "I'll kill her with my hands. For putting me through this hassle, I wanted nothing more than to strangle her to death. It was a long and bumpy ride filled with dread. I didn't know these men or where they were going, but as long as they took me far away from Red Lake, I didn't mind. It may be foolish and impulsive, but desperation blinded me as I hid among their luggage. They had a means of transport, and I needed a means of transport. I was prepared to take care of anything that happened after that. Squeezed between piles of luggage in an unventilated box while holding my breath for fear of being discovered, it did not take me long to pass out. What in the name of the goddess is this? That shout dragged me back to consciousness. I'd been found out. I opened my eyes and raised a banging head to see ice-blue eyes. A light-haired man with a sneer on his lips stood next to the quivering coachman, who held the luggage compartment open. "Hello," I spoke in the calmest voice I could muster, despite my heart beating loud enough for them to hear. The aura around this man screamed power, and he carried himself with an air of importance, the kind of which I'd never seen before. His scent reached my weak nostril, and I perceived the sandalwood scent peculiar to betas. Despite being a beta, he oozed more power than all the alphas I'd ever met. "Hello?" Amusement flitted across his cold eyes. His light coloring gave him a pretty boy look, yet his aura warned against underestimating him. "Is that all you have to say?" Although his presence stifled me, I nodded my heavy head. I'd gone over the details of everything that happened so far, but I foolishly did not think of what to say when found hiding amongst someone's luggage. I didn't know what to say. Thrust into the world for the first time in my life, I was confused and apprehensive. Even if you're Killian's admirer, don't you think it's a bit much to hide amongst his luggage? You could have suffocated. Despite this man's overpowering aura and imposing personality, he had a smirk tugging at his lips that put me at ease. Mere seconds ago, he'd been glaring at me, but it wasn't every day people opened their carriage to see strangers hiding inside. "Killian?" That name came up again. "Who is Killian?" Just as the words slipped from my lips, goosebumps rose on my skin. "Orion, did you—" A man taller and more menacing than the one interrogating me rounded the side and then stopped when his eyes fell on me. "There's a girl amongst the luggage." His voice and words were calm, but the aura around him had me fighting to breathe. His eyes and expression hardened in the blink of an eye, and my instincts to flee jumped out. "Why is there a girl in my luggage?" The intensity of the annoyance in his gaze catapulted me into lockdown mode. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, and could barely breathe. Black hair the color of midnight and eyes so red they looked like rubies. Red eyes, red eyes. There was only one man in the kingdom with such an appearance. "Killian, you're here," the blonde man said to the newcomer. He rummaged through the luggage compartment while the coachman helped me out. Then he took a small pouch and slid it into his pocket. Alpha Prince Killian, the famed murderer. He was staring at me with those blazing red eyes that were a symbol of the royal family, a gift from the goddess that signified they were the purest-blooded alphas. Stupid, stupid Carrot. How did you not know the name Killian? I may be a bush girl from a little nameless pack, but it was impossible not to know the name of the Alpha Prince. He was a lunatic that killed his brother for the throne. I hid in the luggage of the future Alpha King, and from his darkening gaze, he wasn't impressed. You. Realization dawned in his eyes, and the rubies turned to flames of fire. "Did you faint in front of my carriage for this stupid stunt?" "Oh, it's you." The man beside him faced me with a face full of recognition. Ah, I totally forgot about you. Who are you? Cold and callous words. The twin embers of fire burning in the prince's eyes made me recoil. The rubies burned brighter and I swallowed. Black dots spotted my vision again. It was the worst time to faint, but I would welcome any reprieve from the gaze burning into my skin. See, car. I opened my mouth and almost vomited the truth, but I paused at the right time. In the Alpha Prince's luggage, I'd thought of the best way to live life before I got the resources to pull Red Lake to the ground. I planned to work as far away as possible from them, living as if I were dead, because I knew Noah would be looking for me. Amethyst, I muttered, my head falling forward and my ears reddening. That's a pretty name, Orion said, his tone friendly. Now, Amy, why were you hiding in a royal carriage? The friendliness disappeared from his tone. Do I have to answer that? I gulped as the air turned frigid. I needed a ride, and I'm not. You conveniently fainted in front of my carriage, snuck inside, and hid. But you want me to believe you did all this because it's the only way you know of getting a lift? Sharp words cut through the thick skin I thought I'd built from years of being degraded, and they pierced my heart. This man. He carried power like a second skin, wore it as if he was born to be powerful. When he spoke, his words, which although were spoken in a quiet tone as if he could not be bothered to raise his voice, carried across the vicinity. It's all... I didn't mean to faint. It was the truth, but I knew he wouldn't see it as more than a lie. Why did it have to be this man? How could my one impulsive decision lead me to the path of a man who killed without a second thought? Someone who murdered his brother in cold blood. Cut her some slack, the beta defended. She fainted and found herself in a strange pack, so she did something crazy. Besides, we did take her to Dark Moon and promptly forgot about her. While Orion spoke, the prince's eyes bore into me. I wouldn't dare look into the eyes of a man so powerful. Even the gaze he had on me seared my skin and dried my throat. I'd never been this terrified in my life, and a lot had happened during this period for me to be terrified. All this man had to do was look at me, and I felt the ground underneath me shift as if about to open up to bury me. I am sorry, I stuttered when the gaze did not fall from my face. I promise. Words bubbled up from my throat, but I couldn't make sense of anything. The urge to apologize, to fall on my face and beg for forgiveness, overwhelmed me. I may be wolfless, but I never quite mastered the submissive part of my position. I didn't know how to beg, but standing before this man, words of apology flowed out. Amethyst. He tested the name on his tongue. It was a name I'd envied as a child, a name so precious I wished my mother had given it to me. Why did it come to me at a time like this? You have hitched a ride to the capital. I knew the journey had been long, but... The capital. Now what? Sir, I am a job. Distorted words fell from my lips. My Alpha, I'm running from him. He cruel man. He hadn't asked, but I felt I needed to give a reason for my need to hide in his carriage. If you need a job, the palace is hiring, Orion butted in. You can apply. Orion. A single word that shut up the beta and made me freeze. I noticed then that the area around us was unnaturally quiet, and I knew it was because of this man. Amethyst, he called my fake name again. Then I heard a cruel chuckle. You're not a wolf, are you? My gaze unwittingly snapped to his. What? My mouth rounded. Of course I was a wolf. I hadn't shifted, but it didn't mean... What are you? Those words plagued my mind for days after that. He left me with them, but the words did not leave me. For the first time, I wondered if I was a late bloomer, or if I was not a wolf in the first place. My identity dangled at the point of crashing to shambles, but it was just the beginning of the thorough shift my life underwent in a short time. I got a job, all right. The palace hired me to clean, and then things went to flames. One thing I learned after a week of working in the Alpha King's palace was that no matter the place, the treatment for those like me remained the same. You're telling me you've scrubbed this floor? The girl who was in charge of showing me the ropes of the job glared down at me as I scrubbed the banquet hall. In the grand scheme of things, she was the same as me, a nobody. She was an Omega who'd worked at the palace for 3 years, and the head of the maids put her in charge of my supervision. Somehow, she took that as a prerequisite to bully me. Yes, I've scrubbed the floor. I didn't bow to Alpha Noah, so if this nameless Omega girl thought I would bow to her, she didn't know me. This dusty floor? She swiped a finger on the floor and raised her hand. Do you think this is your village? She raised her voice, glaring down at me. This is the royal palace. If you're going to work here, then you should be prepared to work hard. I worked hard. Knowing where I came from, the reality I did not want to return to, I had no choice but to work hard. All my life I'd been a hard worker, so it wasn't anything new to me. In Red Lake Pack, I worked like a camel, toiling day and night in the pack house, and working into the night at a local pub to be able to afford my rent at the same pack house. At least in the royal palace, I got housing and feeding, and my job description was fixed. Mopping, sweeping, and dusting. In simple words, I was a cleaner. Answer me when I'm talking to you. My supervisor hit me across the face, and I saw red. Mary, I called her name as I stood with a burning cheek. Why did you hit me? What? She screeched. How dare you question my method of discipline? Do you want me to hit you again? She pointed a threatening finger in my face, almost stabbing my eye. You're not in charge of my discipline, I reminded her. She was just a worker like me, the only difference between us being her work experience. She had no authority to discipline me any more than I could discipline her. I am in charge of your training. She went red in the face. If you don't work hard, then I have to discipline you. She frothed at the mouth, itching to hit me again if her clenched fists were any indication. How can a new maid be so arrogant? Arrogance. Everyone I met wanted to lord over me. I understood that in every gathering I would be the bottom of the barrel, thanks to the fact that I didn't yet have a wolf. For this reason, I stayed on my own and minded my business. I did my work as instructed, but I was accused of arrogance at every point, by every Jane and Dick that could not get me to lick their feet. Mary! Another maid rushed into the hall I'd been cleaning. A spark of irritation heated my insides as she stomped dirty feet around the ground I'd been washing for the past 2 hours. Mary, Scarlet is here. I froze at the mention of that name. Killian. Scarlet. I was a fool to not recognize those names when I woke up in a strange pack, but after that, I realized just how dangerous things had been for me at that point. My hands found my neck and I massaged it, remembering how that girl had tried to choke me to death, thinking I was making fun of her red hair by mentioning Carrot. Really? She's here, Mary, the Omega supervising me said, her face brightening. Did she ask about me? No. She came looking for the prince. The 2 girls gossiped as if I wasn't there and I may not even have been. They ignored my existence, so I went back to my work, working around them. But it's too early for her to be here. I didn't expect her until the end of the month, Mary complained, but she still spoke with a dreamy sigh. Obviously, this one was a fangirl of Scarlet, the future Luna Queen. She'd been betrothed to the previous Alpha Prince until his mysterious death. Rumor had it that her family, the Alphas of Dark Moon Pack, were pushing for her to be mated to the next prince. She had the power and influence to make his reign smooth, so it was a wonder why they hadn't mated yet. I heard something. The other girl's voice went lower. Don't tell anyone else about it, but I heard the prince has another woman. Uninterested in gossip, I was about to tune out of their conversation, but the next sentence froze my blood. He brought her to Dark Moon with him. She'd fainted and he carried her in his arms. By the goddess, I was dead. And no way, Mary gasped, the sound dramatic and irritating. Yeah, so that's why Scarlet is here. He didn't even see her when he stopped by her pack. After speaking with Alpha Hawk, he took the woman and left. Who is the woman? Mary sounded as affronted as Scarlet did when she confronted me on my nursing bed. Is she pretty? Is she from a good home? Alpha or Beta? An onslaught of questions flowed from Mary's mouth. Since I entered the palace, I hadn't seen the prince. It was expected, since he was busy preparing to take over the throne. Besides, the paths of the royals and their servants hardly ever crossed. I may never set eyes on him again, despite working in the palace, because the place was that huge. Also, I was relegated to cleaning a side palace. Scarlet and her fiancé were none of my business, so even if a rumor spread that the prince was with another woman, since no one knew who I was here, no one would suspect me. Or so I thought. Nobody knows, the other Omega responded, and I breathed out a sigh of relief. But she called Scarlet the forbidden name. What? That whore? I hate her already, Mary exclaimed. Who is she to insult Scarlet like that just because she has the backing of the prince? The brush in my hand clattered to the ground. Hearing people insult me without knowing was unpleasant, but it wasn't as unpleasant as the face that entered the hall I was cleaning. Why? Oh, why? Scarlet! Speak of the devil and she appears. Of all the places in the royal palace, how did she manage to find the one I was cleaning? This place was only a neglected hall that just underwent renovation, so why? You. The cold words had me shivering. A lot of people had stared at me in contempt, to the point where it no longer made me flinch, but the hatred bristling in this lady's eyes had me reeling. I'd never even done any. I asked you to stay away from him, didn't I? She snarled, striding towards me. The other two girls gossiping about her watched the drama unfold with interest. Mary's eyes went from me to her idol and then back again. What are you doing here? I took a step back as the she-wolf advanced on me. Miss Scarlet, Mary started. The door to the hall opened again, and the person I never thought I would see again entered with an older male version of the woman breathing down my face. Your Highness, I don't understand why you are being difficult. I've promised you the support of Dark Moon upon your mating, and you know what that means for your rule. Why do you keep delaying? The man ranted, unaware of the people in the private hall he just entered. If you continue like this, another man may just snatch the throne from... Killian had a formidable expression on his face. His red eyes darkened as the man ranted. As if feeling eyes on him, he raised his head and then his eyes caught mine. He watched me for a second before his mouth opened, and the last words I ever expected to hear from the prince's mouth fell out. Mate. It was a whisper that carried around the room due to his authority and domineering aura. What? Scarlet and the man I assumed to be her father exclaimed. I finally found you, mate. An expression of joy eroded his pissed-off expression as he took purposeful strides towards me. People gawked at us and I gawked at him, wondering what in the goddess's name was happening. This thing is your mate? Scarlet was the first to break out of the shock that we all felt. I had to crane my neck to see the face of the prince standing in front of me. I've waited so long to meet you. He took my dirty hands in his. A big smile tugged at his lips, but his eyes remained cold and dangerous. Your Highness. The man who he entered with shouted, What is the meaning of this? How can this dirty thing be your mate? Careful. The voice filled with false happiness seconds ago turned to frost. You're speaking to your future queen. I swallowed at those words. Me? What kind of madness was happening right in front of me? There was no way the prince was my mate. First, I already found my mate, and even if by some twisted miracle he was my second mate, there was no way for me to know without breaking my bond with my first mate. Despite how much I hated it, I was still very much bonded to Noah. The prince was not my mate, which meant he was... lying. But why me? What is your name, little mate? His thumb stroked my cheek in a falsely tender gesture. His tone carried warmth as he touched me, but his eyes were nothing but a threat. Ruby-colored eyes dared me to say something contrary to the lies he was blatantly and brazenly spewing. Amethyst? Your Highness? I wondered if he'd forgotten me, but I dared not assume he would remember a random nutcase that crawled into his luggage compartment a few days ago. Call me Killian. Someone gasped behind me, and I almost did the same. His lips, which had been smiling before, were now grinning. Even his cold eyes had a faint smear of amusement in them that completely transformed his face. It was not the right time considering the dangerous position this man just put me in, but I noticed his beauty. No, not beauty. The Alpha Prince was handsome in the most breathtaking sense, and his smile... He kissed me. "Killian!" Scarlet exclaimed. Her father's mouth fell open, and mine did too. The prince took that opportunity to sneak his tongue into my mouth. My mind protested, but my body responded. He pulled away as my eyes started to close. What the... I was about to cuss when Ruby Eyes cut my words short. "I've waited my whole life to do that," he breathed against my lips. A foreign heat spread through the inside of my body. I was familiar with the cold, lifeless feeling I dragged around with me these days, but this warmth was unfamiliar and scary. It made my whole body heat, and I knew I looked redder than a tomato then. "What kind of rubbish trick is this?" Scarlet's eyes darkened as she exclaimed. "Do you take me for a fool? I know she is not your mate, so stop lying." "Scarlet," her father called her name in a meek voice, sensing the danger oozing from my mate. "Really? What kind of show was this? Maybe we should discuss this." "No, we will discuss this here, since the prince is shameless," she shouted. "I know she isn't your mate. I've met her before, or haven't we met before?" Her green eyes cut to me, and I stepped back as the force of anger slammed into me. "Didn't you bring her to Dark Moon with you? You were carrying her in your arms," she shouted. Her dignified aura was fast fading as she yelled. It looked like she would also stomp her feet. "What do you mean, dear?" her father implored, his gaze cutting to me. He gave me a once-over, but from his gaze, it was clear that he did not regard me as anything, so he turned to his daughter. "She's the one." Scarlet pointed a threatening finger my way. "He brought her to Dark Moon after she fainted, and they left together. I thought she was someone special to him, but she is just a maid," she bellowed, red in the face. "She is just a maid, and now he wants to pretend they are mates to get out of mating with me." I cringed at the last part. "If you are mates, you wouldn't be discovering it now because you have met before." It seemed the prince's lie had been unraveled before it went far. Scarlet was right, though. As long as both parties were old enough, once mates meet for the first time, the recognition was always instantaneous. "That's why," the prince muttered, touching my face again. "If he wanted to act, he could at least try to look interested in me." His words and actions seemed interested in me, but his face remained cold and blank with his jaw clenched. "That's why I felt that way when we first met." He curled a strand of my hair around his finger. "I didn't know you then, but when you fainted, I had to rush to your aid, and now I know why. It's because we were fated." He leaned into me and took a whiff of my smelly body. His body went rigid, no doubt, from the odor emanating from my overworked body, yet he breathed out a sigh of happiness as if my scent was special to him. "What?" This, Scarlet got even redder. "I don't believe you," she exclaimed. "I've had enough of this." The prince's cold and quiet voice stole the heat from the room. He had a calm face, as if talking to a child, when he turned to the redhead. "Who do you think you are to question me?" I swallowed. His hand, which had been stroking my face, twitched. It was as if he wanted to draw a weapon or hit something. "Killian," she started, despair filling her green eyes. "Don't call my name so carelessly," he mumbled, yet his words carried. "And don't ever think of raising your voice in my presence or the presence of my Luna." With that, he was done. He took my hand and tugged me with him. "Let's go, my love." The door to the hall slammed shut in the faces of 4 confused people. He dragged me all the way from the hall to a strange room, ignoring the people greeting him and those openly staring at us. I came here to live a discreet life before I got the resources to get my revenge on Red Lake Pack, but the Alpha Prince just raised a death flag on my behalf. "Sit." His hand dropped from mine as if he had been holding something hot and unpleasant all along. Your Highness," I muttered with a red face as I sat. "We aren't," I started, feeling feverish inside me. He dropped the act once the door closed behind us, and now he was staring at me with blank eyes. "Why did you lie?" I blurted, curiosity eating at me. "You dare accuse the prince of lying?" he asked with a raised eyebrow. It was a weird question since we both knew he definitely lied. We were not mates, so why? I need a Luna, and I have chosen you. Why? Why? Prince Killian was a bastard prince born from the late king's infidelity with a maid. He had no political support, and the kingdom regarded him as a despot that killed his brother. If he needed a Luna, Scarlet would be the ideal woman since she came from the most powerful pack and family. Why would he choose a nobody maid like me over Scarlet, who could secure a strong alliance for him? But why me? I tested the question with pursed lips. Speaking in the presence of this man was difficult. I feared I would say one wrong thing, and then he would unsheath his claws and end my life. Interesting, he mused. Any other woman would be jumping for joy to be the Luna Queen. His brows raised. Why not you? He countered. Well, I don't have a family or anything like. I can't be beneficial to you. That's why you are perfect. I blinked at him. I'd been made to believe that in the political scene, people chose partners from what they could benefit from them and their families. Don't get me wrong, he started. I have zero interest in a woman like you, but you're lucky enough to be picked. A woman like me? You have no family, no pack, and no supporters, so you are perfect. I nodded, despite not understanding his reason. A woman like you would not think of sharing my power. I blinked as his words started to become clear to me. Scarlet was powerful. She had a powerful family, and the support of the Dowager Luna Queen, who was one of the people forcing him to mate with her. The Queen and her father would become more powerful if they had their person as the Luna Queen. But me, I'd be a small fry tossed into this world, and I'd have to depend on him. The Alpha King and Luna Queen were two parts of an absolute monarchical authority, but with me... You'll have full power, I muttered. You catch on quick. He gave a dry chuckle. Yes, I'll have full power, but as I like to put it, I'll be getting rid of the roaches who think they can make me a puppet king. A bastard king that needed to solidify his power, and a Luna Queen who was the daughter of the wealthiest and most influential Alpha. Such a queen would certainly control the king. What if I refuse? There was nothing in for me in this deal except a seat with no power. When did I give you the option to refuse? Soft words that made my heart pound. Why should I lie for you when there's nothing in it for me? I swallowed down a thick lump in my throat as he stared unblinking at me. You're arrogant. That damn word again. Do you not know who I am? When your betters tell you to do something, you do it without questions. It's my weakness, I muttered sarcastically in a brave show of confidence. I don't like to be used. My confidence failed when his eyes darkened. Does giving you the seat of the Luna Queen count as using you? His brows furrowed as if he truly could not comprehend that I would be hesitant to be used as his shield. The seat he was offering was a powerful one, but he already told me he wanted the power of that seat. I would be nothing but the face of the Luna Queen, while he maintained absolute power over the monarchy, and there would be nothing I could do with no pack or family to support me. You are giving me a seat without power, I mumbled. It is not very attractive. Wealth, status, the protection of the Alpha King, all these are not attractive? He turned cold. What is it you want then? Sarcasm dripped from his words. Protection. Wealth and status did not matter to me, but the last one. I was on the run from my pack and psychopathic mate. If Noah found me before I found him, the consequences for me would be dire. If I became the Luna Queen, I would be untouchable. It's tempting, isn't it? The prince's soft words cajoled with a knowing smirk. To become somebody after being disdained as nobody. You will have the highest seat any woman in this kingdom can occupy after being a nobody maid hiding in a man's carriage. Fiery flames licked at my skin at the embarrassing memories his words evoked. Hiding with his luggage was an impulsive move, but it worked out in the end. Pretending to be his mate would not be as easy to get out of as getting into his luggage compartment. He was asking for a lifetime commitment with minimal benefits. No, he was demanding a commitment, not asking. He did not seem like a man who knew how to ask. It was written all over his confident stance that he was someone who took without asking. Like he did earlier. It's not, I did not know what to say. The urge to reject his offer was strong, but his words were true. I would not be able to influence his rule, as I did not have any power of my own. I had no interest in influencing his rule anyway. If I mated with him and became his Luna, I would have enough resources at my disposal to go after those that wronged me. Maybe I would even be able to find my family now. This is crazy, I muttered to myself. How can you? It was not my place to question a man of his status, so I kept my mouth shut. Think of it as a political marriage. His words made me wince. A contractual mating, if you please. You become a seat filler for the Luna Queen, and in return, you get my protection from whatever it is you are running from. Noah. I was running from the bastard who wanted to torment me and sell me off to an old man for his benefit. I was running from my life in Red Lake, a life that offered no joy, just anguish and hardship. With the protection of the prince, no, the Alpha King, all my worries would be gone. It was all so sudden. When I woke up this morning, all I thought of was getting my job done as soon as possible so I could go to bed early. Never would I have dreamt that my day, which started up mundane, would take such a turn. He sprung this on me from nowhere, and he wanted an answer so soon. You don't even know me, I whispered, scrubbing my face. You are an unmated woman. He gave me a once-over. That's enough. I did not have any illusions that a man like the Alpha Prince would have any interest in me, but the way he looked at me hurt something inside of me. I thought the look of indifference that people gave me would no longer hurt, but it looked like I was wrong. I hated the dismissive assessment he just gave me. Okay, I responded after taking a deep breath. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that dropped from the sky. Some other time I would marvel at how surreal it was to go from being a nobody to the Alpha King's mate, but at that moment, I chose to focus on the magnitude of the opportunity. Every obstacle that came later could be dealt with. Good. He stood, and my heart stuttered. He all but proposed to me, and now he acted like I was a waste of his time. I do not need to tell you that you are not supposed to breathe a word of this to anyone, do I? Ruby eyes flamed. I am not stupid. He looked at me, as if he begged to differ. If you ever try to use this to blackmail me, I will silence you. I gulped and then hiccuped at the same time, then ended up choking on my saliva. He looked down at me without a care in the world, his eyes cold. The seat of the Luna Queen may get to your head in the future, but make no mistake, you are disposable. Whatever I say, goes. I hate arguments, so do not try to argue with me. You are a ceremonial Luna, nothing more. In the future, even if you find your mate, you cannot be with him. As you know, the king's authority is infinite, and I've chosen you with that authority. It may be the time to tell him I had a mate out there, but the cold words spilling from his lips made me freeze. I did not dare speak a word to interrupt him, and a part of me knew this opportunity would be taken away if he found out I already had a mate. I was not foolish enough to throw away this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Finally, this is a business deal. I do not have any interest in you. I don't care what you do, but it would be in your best interest not to fall in love with me. At that point, I almost laughed. Only fools love, I responded bitterly. Even though I was a nobody from a small, nameless pack, I knew that love would be nothing but a hindrance. You're smart. He gave me a wolfish grin. In public, we will have to act affectionately with each other, so if I kiss you randomly, know that someone is watching. Also, to ease suspicion, you'll have to wear my scent as often as possible, so everyone thinks we are a newly mated couple frolicking in bed. My skin heated at the offhanded comments. Do we have to, do the deed? He looked down at me with a sneer. It will be too much work for me. Your body does not entice me in any way. Of course, in the future, it would be necessary, but until then, we don't have to. Ah, I see. Relief coursed through me. My coronation will take place in a week. Be ready, he informed me. His words were spoken in a crisp, dominating tone that left no room for argument. He spoke and he expected me to agree, and I did almost on instinct. Everything felt businesslike to a fault. All that was left was for him to bring out a written document for me to sign. He called me his mate on impulse, but he spoke as if he planned everything from the start. Now come here. He spread his arms and I gave him a dubious look. Did I not just say you have to wear my scent? This is the best way for now. Hurry up. I walked into his arms at the command. You are all bones. he muttered in distaste. I closed my ears and heart against his tone and words. I was in his arms when I felt a familiar stab of pain. My breath stopped and the man holding me muttered something, but I did not hear. Black spots dotted my vision, and I shut my eyes tightly, trying to breathe through the pain. It passed faster than the first time. All the time he imprisoned me in the dungeons, I had dealt with this pain on a daily basis. The pain of a mate desecrating our mate bond. It stopped since I ran off, but today, Noah was having sex with someone else, and it ripped my insides to shred as the goddess mocked me. "What is wrong with you?" An irritated voice devoid of warmth asked. I laughed at my pitiful situation, but then choked on a gasp, tears streaming into my mouth. I had a month to get used to this feeling, but it was a new and unfamiliar kind of pain. One I knew I would have to deal with for as long as Noah lived. "Nothing," I responded to the prince's question, fighting down a gasp. "It's just a random pain I get sometimes." It was a callous way of describing the pain that came with my mate desecrating our sacred bond. But right in front of me was a prince that chose me as his mate. Fake or not, I would have a better life as the Luna Queen than as Noah's mate. "You're a terrible liar," Killian said with pursed lips. "I expect you to be truthful to me as your king." It was on the tip of my tongue to tell him he had a lot of expectations for me when he didn't plan to give me anything, but I kept my mouth shut. I'd been accused of not knowing my place many times, but with this man who breathed and exhaled power, no one had to tell me my place. It's not a lie. I breathed out when the pain of Noah's actions started to subside. Earlier on, I realized my mate did not last long in bed. It was not something I should find out like this, but I did. The pain of a mate desecrating a mate bond would be felt for as long as the other party was engaged in the act, but the pain I got when Noah indulged another woman never lasted more than 10 minutes. I do not care about what goes on in your life, so you can keep as many secrets as you like. He stared down at me with a blank face. But if there is anything you are hiding that will expose this facade, then you better say it now. Do not embarrass me. Having a mate would be a problem, but it wasn't something I would tell him. I would deal with Noah on my own. That bastard would not steal one more thing from me. There's nothing like that. I don't have friends or family, so I trailed off with a shrug of my shoulders. His lips curled and my heart twitched. Good. Since we are on the same page, I have work to do. He took several steps away from me before he paused on his way to the door. He turned back, his expression worsening. He looked like he regretted this decision already, and for a split second, I thought he would call off the whole thing. Don't embarrass me, however, he could not. He'd proclaimed me as his mate already, and I knew word was already flying around the place that he found his mate. He'd be disgraced if it turned out to be a lie. His impulsive decision already tied us together, so whether or not he regretted it, it would be difficult to go back on his word. No one would believe this sham if you continue to work as a maid, so you are fired. I reeled from the shock of his forceful words. I will find someone to polish your image for our first public outing. With that, he slammed the door shut with a bang. I sagged in the seat. My heart beat a loud rhythm in my ear, and I gasped, letting out a breath I didn't know I was holding. It was arduous breathing in his presence. His existence alone sucked up all the air in the room and tightened my lungs. And the way he looked at me with distaste shining in his eyes ripped something inside me. Many rumors surrounded the Alpha Prince. He was the Alpha King's second son, born from a former slave the king slept with 27 years ago. As the queen wasn't the Alpha's true mate, but a woman forced on him due to political reasons, the Alpha became a philanderer. The Luna Queen blocked all the women that the king showed interest in, but surprisingly, her closest maid was sleeping with the king, and thus Killian was born. That wasn't even what made the prince interesting. What made him interesting was that he wasn't the first prince. Until a few months ago, we had another Alpha Prince, and Killian was just a regular royal, but then the Alpha Prince mysteriously died, and all fingers pointed at Killian as the murderer. A few weeks ago, the king died, leaving Killian as the last wolf of royal bloodline, the only person on the planet who carried the red eyes of the royal wolves. Recalling the many horrific rumors swirling around the monstrous Alpha Prince, I hung my head as emotions choked me. What the hell did you just do, Carrot? I whispered to myself, clutching my head in my hands. The Luna Queen? It was a position too high for a rat like me. A position so dangerous I may not survive a year. If my so-called mate did not kill me, his stepmother would, or Scarlet would get to me first, or maybe even Noah, who must be on the hunt for me. I just put my life in danger for a position that came with no power. Should I run away again? It was a daring idea to think of running away from the Alpha Prince. He'd find me before I even navigated the complex palace grounds. Why did I accept? I muttered, and the answer danced around in my head. It was because I had no choice. The Alpha Prince chose me to be his fake fiancé, and there was no refusing a man like Killian. On the upside, I'll become rich. I may not have power, but I would have money as a part of the royal family, and my fake mate would protect me. If he did not kill me first. Killian was a conceited murderer. He killed people and never hid that he did it. Thus he had many enemies. The only one he never claimed to have killed was his brother. I suppose it was too heinous a crime for even him to admit, and killing a member of the royal family was punishable, but death, no matter the person involved. Doesn't that mean he can't kill me once I mate with him and become a part of the royal family? A knock on the door pulled me from my inner ravings. The door opened as I jumped to my feet, straightening out my maid uniform. I greet the Luna. 2 girls entered the room with a deep bow, the way we had been taught to greet every member of the royal family. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would receive such a greeting in my lifetime. Raise your heads. My voice shook as I spoke. We'd been taught that once we greeted a royal, we had to wait for them to ask us to raise our heads, or for them to leave the room before we could raise our heads. Thank you. Their eyes sparkled as they assessed me from head to toe. They were girls I had never seen before, but then I didn't work in the main palace. It's a pleasure to meet you, future Luna. Their exuberance startled me, but I nodded with a grimace. The Alpha Prince asked us to help you wash up and relax for later. Their eyes twinkled and my skin heated. For later? What did he mean by that? The girls prepared my bath for me while I tried not to combust from the numerous feelings inside me. It's such a fairy tale, one of them sighed. Someone like us will become the queen one day. The goddess writes such beautiful stories. A fairy tale. Yeah, the nobody meeting her prince and climbing the ladders thanks to his love was a story fit to be called a fairy tale, but for me, it was nothing short of a nightmare. A lie that could cost me my life, a risk I had no choice but to take. I hope I can serve you even when you become the queen, the most outspoken of them said. My name is Sabrina, by the way. My colleague is Ella. She poked the other girl beside her. Yeah, I answered without paying attention. It amazed me how a life could be flipped on its head in the blink of an eye. Just last week, I was imprisoned by my mate, and in the weeks before that, I lived a low-key life. Now, Luna Queen. Sheesh. It was unbelievable and frightening to think about. It was awkward having people prepare my bath, but not as awkward as being put in a dress which did not belong to me. They were putting my hair in a bun when a knock sounded on the door. A man came in with a letter in his hands, carrying the golden seal of the queen. The Luna Queen has sent you an invite. For the rest of the day, I was cooped up in my new room in the main palace. The thoughts that ran through my head were enough to drive me crazy, but every time I felt overwhelmed by the things happening, I reminded myself that I could now get back at Noah and his pack for all the evil cards they dealt me. I promised to make their lives hell the way they did to me, and I would stop at nothing to achieve my goal. It seemed petty and self-destructive, but I could not go against the prince, so I made the choice of getting the best out of this situation. We could have a polite relationship without love or affection. It would work out. It had to. As for the queen, she would not try anything, right? With these thoughts running through my head, I yawned, stretching out in the large fluffy bed that felt more like clouds than a bed. Used to the hard wood I called a bed in Red Lake, I felt uncomfortable in such a luxurious bed, but with time, I drifted off to sleep. In my sleep, I heard the door open and I heard some movements, but my eyelids were too heavy to open. Working in the palace could not be considered menial labor, and the mental work I'd done today with the prince was enough to tire me out to my bones. My eyes did not open despite the movements in my room until I felt someone climb into the cloudy bed. Heavy eyelids snapped open and drowsiness disappeared in the blink of an eye. "What are you doing?" I exclaimed, scrambling up in bed when I saw the outline of a man in the room only illuminated by the soft moonlight. With fumbling hands, I lit the lamp beside my bed and light flooded the room to reveal the prince glaring at me. "What does it look like I am doing?" he growled. "Turn off the lights. I want to sleep." Frost filled his deep voice. "But you," I spluttered, holding up the bedsheet to my chest. Sabrina dressed me in a flimsy see-through nightdress, and now he was in my bed? Why can you not sleep in your room? I shifted closer to the edge of the bed. He was on the other edge of the bed, and if I stretched out my hand, I wouldn't touch him, but to be sharing a bed with a strange man. Why can I not sleep in my room? His red eyes flashed with annoyance. Good question. "Why can't I sleep in my room, on my own bed?" he asked in a quiet voice that mocked me. "Whose bed do you think you are in?" he asked, and realization crashed into me. We will be sharing a room?" Horror colored my words, and my mouth fell open. I clutched the sheets tighter to my chest, and his eyes dropped from my face to the hand I used to hold the sheets up. The dark expression on his face worsened. I gulped as fire lit his eye. "Do you think I am interested in your body?" he asked, his tone cruel and biting. "With that flat chest and ribs poking about? We have to share a room to avoid suspicion, so do not delude yourself. Turn off the lights and let me sleep," he commanded. Yes. I turned off the light in a daze and catapulted the room into darkness. I inched closer to the edge of the bed with the sheets still clutched to my chest. Staring up at the ceiling, I felt tears slide down my face and into my ears. What the hell had I gotten myself into? I didn't expect kindness from anyone, least of all a man who was famed for being cruel and callous. So why did my heart shred to pieces with every mean comment he uttered? It could be because I knew I would have to spend the rest of my life with him, or at least I would be with him until he decided he did not need me to be a seat filler anymore. Or maybe it was because I'd had too many people say and do mean things to me, and I was finally sick of it. Perhaps the fact that he could crush me with just a few words bothered me. But whatever the reason was, I felt a deep ache inside me when he spoke about me in such a dismissive tone. With a start, I realized it was because it made me feel worthless. I never attached my worth to what others thought of me. Despite knowing I was nobody, a person rejected right from conception, I still maintained a bit of my esteem. No matter the situation, I could raise my head, even when people poured mud water on me. With this man, I couldn't do that. Throughout today, all he did was speak to me as if my existence bothered him. He should thank me for going along with his lies, but he acted as if I was the one who lied in the first place. With 100 thoughts going on in my head, I fell asleep late in the night, and then dreams of the Queen began to plague me. In my dreams, she connived with Scarlet to kill me and then drugged Killian with a love potion. Warmth surrounded me like a fever sometime later. My body woke up at my normal time to get started on my duties, but the warmth enveloping me made it impossible for me to open my eyes. I fell into a deeper sleep in a cocoon of warmth. Hours later, the urge to pee assailed me from the depths of sleep. My eyes snapped open, and then my body froze. I had a lot of bizarre dreams the previous night, including dreams of warm hands wrapping around me, but that part wasn't a dream. How did this even happen? The previous night, Killian and I went to sleep on opposite sides of the bed, but now we were both in the middle and he was atop me. My cheeks went up in flames when I felt his bare legs against mine and his lips touching my collarbone. It was such an intimate position to be in with someone I'd just met, but what confused me was my body's reaction. An unfamiliar heat pooled in my guts, which caused me to panic. Flustered, I tried to get out from under him, but his weight pinned me to the bed. My bladder burned with every movement, and the thought of him waking up to see me like this made me hasten my movements. Again, I tried pushing him off me to get out of bed, but in a split second, my arms were pinned above me, and his lips muttered faint words against my skin. To my mounting horror, I felt something hard poking against my stomach as he shifted with me in his arms. I might be a virgin, but I wasn't stupid to not know what was poking against me. My cheeks must be redder than strawberries, and my heart pounding would wake him soon. I'd heard men woke up most times with erections, but I never thought I would have a strange man's morning wood pressed up against me like this. Goddess, if I spent one more second in his arms, I may combust from the heat of embarrassment burning my insides. Desperate to get out of bed, I wriggled some more, pushing him off with all my might. He budged a little, but his legs trapped me to the bed. "Stop it!" he whined. My body froze from the sleepy tone, and my mouth went dry. I have to pee," I muttered with burning cheeks as he tried to hug me back to his chest. His lips had moved from my collarbone to my ear. I shivered when his breath touched my skin. "Let me go." I shoved with all my might as the feeling in my guts intensified, scaring me. I succeeded in escaping his embrace, but unfortunately, I also woke him up. "What is it?" Red eyes blinked open sleepily, and to my surprise and chagrin, my first thought was how breathtakingly beautiful he was, underneath the light streaming into the room. "Amethyst?" He called my name with a slight frown. I knew the moment realization dawned on him as his eyes widened and he sat up in bed, running his hand through his hair. It may have been a trick of the light, but I think I saw a faint pink stain on his cheeks. We greet the Luna, Ella, and Sabrina returned the next morning. "Raise your heads," I muttered. It felt icky saying words that I wasn't qualified to say, but it couldn't be helped. I was now the official maid of the prince, and this evening I would be meeting with his stepmother. "Luna, did you sleep well?" Sabrina asked with a knowing grin. Yes. "Why do you ask?" I looked away from her, knowing what her gaze meant. Nothing happened between the prince and I, but remembering waking up in his arms like that had my skin heating. He promptly left the room after that, but I swear I saw his cheeks turn pink. "Oh, nothing. I just want to know if you need a massage." Sabrina smiled. Ella went to the bathroom to prepare a bath while Sabrina made a show of picking out my outfit. I had 2 outfits that she brought in the previous day, and the other had already been worn. Sabrina, I noticed, was a chatterbox, while Ella was on the quiet side like me. The girl talked a marathon, and even if I did not respond, she kept talking. I drifted off to my own world as they washed my hair. Today, I would be meeting the woman who could be the strongest opposition to my sham of a mating. The queen supported Scarlet, who was betrothed to her late son since birth, so I did not expect her to appreciate me coming out of nowhere to take Scarlet's place. She may try to scare me off, and I would have to find a way to stand firm against a woman like that. "The prince has instructed us to get you a new wardrobe befitting of your new status." 2 other women entered my room after I dressed. Sabrina squealed behind me. "Can I come, Luna? Can I?" She all but clapped, so I agreed. Thus, the 4 of us entered the royal carriage and set off. I often heard the phrase "shop till you drop," but I did not think it was a real thing. The girls dragging me around for dress fittings were more excited about this than I was. After 5 hours of choosing fabrics and styles, I was ready to faint on the spot. I was used to hard labor, but this sort of labor was an unfamiliar one. "Here, try this," the woman in charge of my shopping said, handing me a box. I opened it to see a necklace that sparkled. "Isn't this too expensive?" I muttered, closing the lid of the box. When I raised my head to see what store we were in, my throat dried. Al Shandy, the famed jewelry dealer. "It is." The lady giggled. "So you should get it." She winked and brought another box. When His Highness, I am not certain Killian would appreciate me spending so extravagantly. Why not? You are his mate, and he is the Alpha Prince. Don't you know men like to decorate their women? It makes them feel proud, the store owner said, her assistants nodding behind her. "No, I don't think. I started, but the women ganged up against me. I was Killian's mate, and after the show he put on the previous day, he must be in love with me and would be happy to have me spend his money. If these girls knew that their smitten prince was a selfish man who didn't give a hoot about me, they wouldn't be advising me to buy diamonds and rubies in his name. Here, take these 3. I bet you he signs the bill without checking. Yes. If he has any complaints, we will take them back," the store owner said. "We have a no-return policy, but I'm willing to bet money that he doesn't even notice." In the end, I left the place with a diamond jewelry set, a ruby bracelet, and a gold chain. My things were loaded into a different carriage than I used, and then we went back to the palace. At the door to the main palace, Killian was waiting for me with a scowl on his lips. "You said he wouldn't notice," I muttered to Sabrina, who was the closest to me. The expression on Killian's face almost had me taking a step back. Clouds of anger covered his face as he stepped forward, but much to my amazement, the clouds dispersed the closer he got to me. "I missed you," he whispered to me, taking my hands in his. "You were gone for such a long time that I became anxious." He kissed my hand, and someone sighed. My cheeks burned at the shameless way he rubbed his cheek against my palm. This man was as accomplished in acting as he was in slaughtering. Even I felt my heart shiver at his affectionate tone and gesture. "Come on, let's go inside. I have something for you." With that, he tugged me back to his room, and when the door shut behind us, his hand fell from mine and the clouds of rage covered his face again. "How many things did you buy?" he asked with a quiet growl. Just enough to..." I fought myself not to take a step back, but I failed. My legs moved on their own, putting distance between us. "You know you will be meeting my mother today, yet you stayed out so long," he growled. I blinked up at him. "You wasted too much time shopping. I cannot help you prepare since you wasted time buying dresses." With that, he walked out of the room. He did not even mention the exorbitant amount of money I spent. How could he be more concerned with the time it took more than the money I cost him to buy frilly dresses? Or did he not receive the bill yet? Not to dwell on the clothes too much, Sabrina came in and helped me dress for the meeting with the Queen, and then I stepped out of the room, feeling weighed down by my outfit. Killian's gaze turned sharp when he entered the room after I was done dressing. I smoothed down my dress with nervous hands as he gave me a once-over. I waited for a comment that never came as he went right into business. "Do not bow to my mother." My eyes bulged out of their sockets at his silent command. But she's the queen." This meeting would surely include some power play, but I did not think I would have to start my meeting with her by disrespecting her. "In a few weeks you will be the queen," he reminded me. "If you are to stand by my side, you are to bow to me and me alone. Do not accord my respect to another person." "Oh, okay." I did not fully understand, but I was new in all this, and no matter what, I could not go against his word. His condition to make me Luna Queen was that I followed every one of his instructions. "Good, come here." He opened his arms and I hesitated for a second. Don't waste my time. I had no choice but to step into his open arms. Flames licked at my skin as I stepped into his embrace, and for an absurd reason, my mind catapulted me to this morning. After rubbing his scent all over me and setting my cheeks ablaze, he took my hand and we stepped out of the room. The Killian I knew outside this room and the one I knew inside it were two different people. His behavior changed so fast that it gave me whiplash. Here we are. We'd arrived at the Queen's palace and were stood outside her door. "I'll miss you." He spoke in a warm voice with cold eyes. "Be good," he whispered, his face drawing closer to mine, and like a hawk, he swooped down and captured my lips with his, sucking harshly against my bottom lip. My guts tightened and I made a small sound as he drew back. His cold eyes were amused as he pulled away, and I turned to see the Queen's chambers had been opened, revealing the Queen and Scarlet, who wanted to bury me with her eyes. Careful of the smiling viper. It's venomous. His breath fanned against my ear before he straightened, leaving me with a smile. The smiling viper was the Queen, who wore a beaming smile as I entered her chambers with Scarlet sitting beside her like a pretty daughter. I greet the Dowager Queen of Wolves. I stepped into the room and the door closed, shutting me in with these women who wanted to tear me apart. "Bow." It was Scarlet that spoke first. I turned to her. It was good that years of bullying in Red Lake taught me to school my expression. I was talented at looking unimpressed, and it was that look I gave Scarlet, who looked on the verge of shifting. I bowed to no one but the Alpha Prince. I thought I would die from my trembling heart, but the talks of my arrogant must be true because I held my head high and stared the Queen in the eye. Killian. "So you found your mate," Orion said, tapping his feet. "Yes," I answered without fail. "Anyone I know?" "I am unsure. Would he remember the girl who fainted in front of the royal carriage and then crawled into our luggage a week ago? It would be surprising for him to forget. "Why have you not introduced us?" he asked, blinking blue eyes at me. "Scared she'd like me more?" my wolf snarled. "Stop talking nonsense. I don't think you found your mate," he said with a drawl. "It's more likely that you picked a random girl to pretend to be your mate to shake off Scarlet and her family." Orion's best trait was that he knew me too well. It also doubled as his worst trait. "I said not to talk nonsense," I warned, irritated. "They say a secret, known by 3, is no longer a secret, so it was best to hide this from even my beta, but he was perceptive. It was why we got along well. I found most people slow and annoying, but Orion and I clicked from the start because of his perception. "How much are you paying her to pretend to be the mate of the cruel Alpha Prince?" he asked with a laugh. "You speak like you have 9 lives." My skin tightened. "Didn't I ever tell you?" he started with a dry tone. "I was a cat in my past life." I ignored his quip, focusing on my work. It was hard to focus on work when my fake mate was meeting my fake mother. My fake mate would most likely be torn to shreds by the Dowager Queen and Scarlet. Should I go to her aid before they scared her away? No, she would not be that easy to scare away. Amethyst had a secret strength brewing underneath her skin. There was very little to distinguish her from other girls, but she carried herself too well to be just a maid. I'd chosen her because she was nobody, someone who I could control at will and have the power of both the queen and king at my disposal. But an itch on my skin told me there was something more. "Killian, a fake mate is a terrible idea," Orion muttered. "I understand you want a powerless woman by your side so you can do as you wish as king, but this lie will end up blowing up in your face." "Orion," I called his name with a warning growl. "Forgive my forwardness, but as your best friend and beta, I am the only one that can say this to you without fear," he continued. "What will happen when you find your mate in the future? What will happen when she finds her mate? Mate bonds are sacred, not things to lie about. At 26, my chances of finding my mate were greatly reduced. As a bastard prince reduced to a warrior, I'd been on many battlegrounds that made me travel the length and breadth of the kingdom, but I still hadn't found my mate. The chances were slim, but they were there. I chose Amethyst, and I planned to stick to my choice. If she found her mate, well, the bastard would be unfortunate. Whatever stood in my way would be leveled to the ground. My chosen mate would stand beside me, and the power of the queen would be mine, because Amethyst did not have a voice, no power to challenge me. The bastard prince would rule the kingdom as he pleased. Rather than poke your nose into things that do not concern you, shouldn't you be looking for a way to contact the mages? I changed the subject. Orion gave me a knowing glance, but he let it slide. "It is like I am moving in circles." My beta groaned. "I've heard they do not have a leader yet. They are this difficult to find. As a bastard prince, I lacked a maternal family to support my reign. It was the nozzle with which Alpha Hawk and Scarlet tried to leash me with. Seth, my late brother, never argued his betrothal with her. He had no reason to be wary of her father's influence spreading if she became the Luna Queen, since his mother was powerful. A man building from the scratch would become a puppet for Alpha Hawk and Dark Moon Pack if I gave them the seat of the Luna Queen. I would force all the Alphas to kneel at my feet with brute force if need be, but it would not hurt to forge an alliance with the mages. They were neutral in all things politics. They had their own rules, their own leaders, and they paid no attention to the world outside their covens. "You're useless," I muttered to my beta. "We've been on this for a year, but you still haven't found a single mage." "Hey!" Orion exclaimed in indignation. "A lot of things happened out of the blue, okay? In a short while, Seth died, the Alpha King died, and I am suddenly the beta of the future king. I am working hard, you know." "Seth." The mention of that name made my heart clench. "Are you okay?" Orion went quiet. Fine. I was not fine. The only person to ever care about me was cold in the ground. Seth, or number 2 as I called him, had been my only family all my life. My father hid me away in shame, and my stepmother hated my existence. She could not hate her mate or the maid that died birthing me, so she hated me instead. I was considered a stain on the royal family, living evidence of the Alpha King's infidelity, a prince born of a former slave. Seth, the only one to ever treat me like family, died mysteriously, and the world pointed fingers at me. He would be proud of you, Orion muttered. Stop, I warned, but he did not heed my warning. You know he never wanted to be king. You are going to be a king, he would be proud. Orion. Killian, stop killing yourself over this, my beta said. Seth is dead and you have to accept it. No witch can bring him back to life, so stop. I never said. I am not daft. I know you need the witches for more than the throne. Perception, a gift and a flaw. I am not trying to bring him back to life. Necromancy was taboo. I am trying to find out who killed him. The royal physician ruled it a suicide. The physician also died the next day. Seth found the constraints of the royal family too much to bear. He wanted freedom and craved to be an explorer, but as the Alpha Prince, his duties were cut out for him before his birth. He wanted freedom, not death. Although his death was ruled a suicide, the monarchy announced he died of a strange disease, but no one believed it. It was easier to believe I, the monster of the monarchy, killed him than for people to believe a strange illness killed a healthy royal wolf. Killian, Orion started. Let's forget this conversation. I stood. I have to see my mate and make sure the old hag has not pulled any trick. I promised to protect Amethyst. She was on the run from something she refused to tell me, but I planned to keep my word. She would be protected, but who would protect her from me? You have a lot of audacity talking bad about the future King, Mary. A voice reached me as I approached the corner to the main palace. That voice was familiar. It belonged to a person that filled my thoughts for the past 24 hours. A person that took away my nightmares for the first time since my brother's death. What? Don't you know your supposed mate murdered his brother to become king? Those words never failed to squeeze my heart. You are arrogant, the queen said. Those words again. On instinct, I knew she didn't like me. Not everyone had to like me, but I would gain nothing from making this woman my enemy. So I've been told, I responded with a smile. It's an honor to stand before you. The words were flat and insincere even to my ears. It was more of a chore to stand before her than an honor. I didn't miss the fact that she kept me standing despite the empty seats in the room. Let's not beat around the bush. I've called you here because rumor has it that you are Killian's mate. Her smile dropped. Is this true? By the will of the goddess, it is. I forced myself to hang my head in deference. She's lying, Scarlet shouted. The queen put her hand on her knees to silence her. Do you plan on mating with him? The question took me off guard. If we were mates, there was no reason for us not to mate. Mates rejecting each other seldom happened. Of course, my case had to be different, but it was the truth. When the goddess makes a perfect person just for you, it is hard to let them go. Yes, my tone was resolute. Our sham of a mating already started, so there was no way for me to back out now. I didn't even want to back out. What sane woman would back out of the opportunity to be the queen of her people? Do you love Killian? I blinked at the question. I pressed my lips firmly together to keep them from curling. Love was such a useless emotion, one that would never fit into my arrangement with the prince. He was not a man to be loved, and I was not a person capable of love. He was more of a business partner than a love interest. A business partner that clarified that I would never be good enough for his affection. We only met yesterday. I decided on a half-truth. It would be near impossible to fall in love with a man I just met, but we are mates and Killian is such a sweet man. I let out a dreamy sigh, my lips pulling up at the sides as Scarlet scowled. I don't love him, but I am falling in love with him. Fast. That's good. The queen's smile returned. Since you feel this way, it would be easy for you to leave him. Her smile turned cruel. I would think she was Killian's mother if I didn't know better. They both had similar cruel and nerve-wracking smiles. I beg your pardon. Her smile deepened as I stuttered. I don't understand. You seem like a smart girl, so you must know the position Killian is in as regards the throne, the queen spoke with a drawl, spelling the words out for me. He is going to be king, I muttered. Yes, but he would be a powerless king if he does not mate with the right woman. My heart stuttered, and I didn't know why. I knew the direction of this conversation, and it was something I expected to hear sooner or later. But why did my insides tighten as the queen continued? Scarlet here, as the world knows, has been betrothed to Killian for some months now, and he has called off all arrangements for their wedding since he found you. I swallowed as the red-haired girl sat up straighter with a haughty air around her. It was like without her, he could not get the throne, which we all knew was false. The goddess ordained the family of the first wolves to rule over all her creation. Killian was the last of that bloodline, so without him, we would not have a monarch. No matter what happened, he would take the throne. It became his birthright upon the death of Prince Seth II. Are you asking me to leave my mate for another woman? I asked, my curiosity making my voice strong, despite me trembling inside. I did not think she would be this straightforward with warding me off. I expected backhanded insults, word games, and whatnot, but not an outright command to get out of the way. Leaving your mate for another woman is one way to look at it. Again, her smile returned. But I would like you to see it as you doing your mate a favor, since you are already falling in love with him. Her words were mocking, her eyes laughed at me, and her body language made me feel like dirt. If you have any affection for Killian, you would want the best for him, am I right? She crossed her legs. I heard that you started working at the palace last week, and you suddenly found your mate in our future king. It is a fairy tale that must be getting to your head now, but stop and think. Killian is a bastard, and you are a maid without a family or a pack. You are a nobody worth nothing to the throne, so as his mother, I am asking you to take a step back. Allow him to flourish, with a more deserving woman by his side. Luna, it sounds like you presume to know more than the goddess. A familiar chill spread inside me, but I did not allow myself to cower. Her words and tone were biting. Scarlet's gloating smile from beside her irked me. Her words were cold and cruel enough to affect someone else, but not me. All my life, I'd heard people call me a nobody. My mate rejected me for this reason. I accepted I wasn't worth much, and that in the grand scheme of things, I had no relevance. Not to my mother who abandoned me, not to my mate who rejected me, and not to my pack that bullied me. The queen's words would sting if I hadn't heard them 1,001 times already. I was worth noting to the throne? Good. That was why Killian chose me in the first place. If the goddess says I am to be the prince's mate and the future queen, then who are you to say there is a more deserving woman to be by his side other than me? I came in here with the thought that I could show her I was harmless so she didn't target me, but I was stupid to think anything I did would matter to her. To her, I was an eyesore, a damper on her plans to make her person the queen since the king had no regard for her. Little girl, you are playing a dangerous game, Scarlet snarled, but the queen held up a hand to silence her. I will give you time to think on my offer, the queen employed a diplomatic tone. I did not expect you to give up your mate just like that, and I also did not think you would turn rude to me, but I understand you are still living in a fairy tale. If this woman knew the first thing about me, she would know I never lived a fairy tale. I was born into a nightmare. Take time to think my words over. If you want, I will give you a good settlement for this. You understand, right? Her charming smile returned. How much could convince me to give up the seat of the queen? I may be nobody now, but please do not insult me. Soon, I will be your queen. I watched as Scarlet grew red in the face. She reminded me so much of Bella, and coupled with the things she'd already done to me, I felt a deep loathing in my guts for her. If you'll excuse me. I left the queen's chambers without a backward glance, my heart in my throat and sweat on my forehead. Should I have played it safer? Would it have been better if I laughed like a fool and gave them the illusion that I was a naive idiot? No. No matter what I did, those women would cause trouble for me. It was better I showed a strong stance before they thought to override me. Where did I get that confidence from? I pondered. I was not one to bow with ease, but speaking so brazenly to those who could ruin my life with a snap of their fingers was not my style. Killian. He promised to protect me. I did not trust the man, but I knew he was a man of his word. After all, everyone he said would die at his hands ended up dying at his hands. I had just gotten to the corner of the main palace when Mary and another maid cornered me. Do you think you are better than Scarlet now, because you are mated to the bastard prince? Mary, their leader, snarled. You have a lot of audacity talking bad about the future king, Mary. My voice was soft to show my tiredness, but she must have taken it as a sign of weakness. What? Don't you know your supposed mate murdered his brother to become king? She sneered. It was a rumor the whole kingdom knew about, but of course there was no evidence. Killian was the only one that had anything to gain from his brother's death, and coincidentally, his brother died the night he returned from war. It was easy to believe he would kill his brother as he was a cruel murderer. A part of me also thought he did it, but I was not about to admit it to these girls. If you continue peddling baseless rumors, you're going to meet a sorry end soon, I muttered. And if you're going to talk nonsense, you better say it far from me. I won't listen to people talk bad about my mate. I heard a rustling as if someone was coming, but I waited and no one came. What would you do? Mary sneered. I'll tell him, I answered. Since you're itching for death, I will do you a favor. Maybe when you're publicly executed for blasphemy against the royal family, others will learn not to talk nonsense. She paled, and something inside me raised its ugly head. Don't bother me anymore. The girls let me pass with ease. Killian offered me a seat without power, but I still felt power coursing through me as I left the scene. Never had I been able to stand up to my bullies like I just did, but thanks to him, I could shut them up with a single threat. I returned to our room to see Killian sitting on the bed with a frown. He opened his mouth, and I thought he was going to offer a greeting, but the words that came out of his mouth had me frowning. I did not kill Seth. What? I swallowed at the abrupt statement. Did he hear me arguing with Mary? Seth killed himself. I did not kill him, in case you were wondering. I blinked at the cold and callous way he spoke of his brother's death. In the public eye, Seth was the fair prince, the man who would inherit the throne and lead the kingdom to greater heights after his father. On the other hand was Killian, the opposite of Seth. He was the dark prince, the man we all sighed about, knowing he would never inherit his father's throne. He had the makings of a dictator, a cold-blooded killer who came back victorious in every war. When the prince died suddenly when Killian returned, people pointed hands at him, but the official announcement from the place said Seth died of a strange illness. Of course, if he killed himself, then they wouldn't tell the public the truth, but it seemed absurd that our beloved Prince Seth would kill himself. Why did he kill himself? I was never curious about the dead prince until now. It is none of your business. I reeled at his bitter tone. Then, why did he bring it up in the first place? Perhaps the royal family had sicknesses they hid from the public because this one seemed bipolar. Did I escape a psychopath to tie myself to a bipolar murderer? I am telling you this because everyone in my circle knows. Seth and I were close, so people would expect me to tell you about him. He slapped a hand on his thigh as he stood. That is all you need to know about him. How did the meeting with the queen go? She offered to give me a handsome settlement to leave you. His lips curled. I would hunt you down. The vow sent a chill down my spine. I chose you, so do not think. He pressed his lips together, and my heart quivered at the fire gleaming in his eyes. Sensing danger, my feet carried me backwards. My jerking heart reminded me that I was standing in the presence of a cold-blooded killer, a man so vile the kingdom believed, without evidence, that he killed his brother. He promised to protect me, but he would not protect me from himself. If he snapped my neck in this room, I would be gone for life, and there was no one to hold him accountable for it. My hands became clammy and my senses sharpened. I did not have a wolf, but I had enough sense to know when to retreat, when to run. However, he advanced when I retreated. The desire to flee mounted with every second that passed in the bristling silence of the room. If I turned to run, the beast staring me down would give chase and I could not outrun him, couldn't even dream to outrun an alpha wolf. Never think of betraying me, he murmured, and I stumbled. The price would never be worth it. My back hit a wall as I stumbled away from him, but he continued to advance on me. My heart beat loud enough for people outside the room to hear, and my throat dried up. He stopped a breath space away from me. What? Words danced in my head, but before I could form a sentence, chapped lips touched mine. He stole my first kiss in a false show of affection the other day, and now his lips dominated mine in a slow and scorching kiss that had me reeling. My eyes widened as powerful hands wrapped around my waist and pulled me against a rock-hard chest. My traitorous body relaxed against his, and when he ran his tongue across my bottom lip, I opened my mouth to say something, to ask why he was doing this, but a hot tongue entered my mouth. My movement was clumsy and unsure. I did not know what to do with my lips, nor did I know what to do with the tongue in my mouth. It swirled inside my mouth, dipping into the crevices. I sucked on it, tentatively at first, then harder. The hand around my waist tightened to the point of pain, and it wrenched me back to the present. I pulled away from him, skin heating as his lips chased mine. Why in the goddess' name were we doing this? Stay still. His usually haughty tone was low and hoarse, sending thrills through my body. I did not have the time to react before his lips captured mine in another kiss, this one harsh and furious, almost punishing. My breath caught in my throat, and it became impossible for my eyes to remain open. They fluttered shut, and with my eyes closed, my other senses sharpened. I felt the heat of his body scorching me. His hand on my waist squeezing and his tongue exploring my mouth became more decadent. The first kiss had been like a small tease, and now his control seemed to have snapped. Following his lead, I tentatively pushed my tongue into his mouth, and he almost swallowed it whole. He sucked harshly, one of his hands tugging back my hair. I made yet another sound as my sense of reason fled from me. I could not remember what we'd been discussing, or the fear and nervousness that made me shiver mere minutes ago. His lips pulled from mine and trailed down my chin and to my neck. I clenched my hands tightly at my sides to stop them from wandering, but then his teeth grazed my neck and my eyes flew open. There was no way he wanted to mark me now. Before the thought took root in my mind, he sucked on my flesh. He sucked so hard I painted, fearing my skin would break open. It all felt like a punishment. No, a warning that he had me under his control already. When I felt overwhelmed with my legs quivering on the ground, he pulled away and I swallowed. His red eyes were alight with a fire that warmed my insides and heated my skin. My gaze got stuck on his glistening lips. His hands were still around my waist, and with a start, I realized how well we fit. In the future, he cleared his throat, pulling me out of my absurd thoughts. We would have to do that often. I nodded without comprehending his words. And if you think of joining hands with the queen, there will be hell to pay. I swear it on my father's grave. I swallowed thickly. Wordlessly, he let me go and stepped out of the room, leaving me with a body that still craved him and a mind filled with confusion. What in the goddess's name was this? Why did I react so strongly to a man who was not my mate? My body shivered as I sank into bed. Touching my lips, lightning zinged through me and I groaned. Was it because he was my first kiss? Was this how kissing was supposed to feel and I just didn't know because I'd never been kissed? So many thoughts went through my head, but they all stopped when I felt a now familiar piercing in my heart. This time, tears did not sting my eyes. My legs did not quiver, and my heart did not ache. Noah was with another woman now, and the fates wanted to remind me that I had a mate bond being defiled every day. The pain lasted for the usual 10 minutes before it subsided. I laughed. Then I laughed some more. It was like the world would never let me forget Noah. Noah would not let me forget him, but I did not mind. The more he hurt me in this way, the more my thirst for vengeance built. For every bit of pain I felt at his hands, I would make him and his pack feel 10 times more. Tired from all the mental stress of the day, I curled up in bed, and once sleep took me, I had a strange dream. It felt more like reality than a dream. A man with a striking resemblance to my mate was speaking to a red-headed woman. At first I thought it was Killian, but he had light-colored hair. He turned and a sense of déjà vu hit me. He had a lean build, and his eyes, although the same shade as Killian's, looked warmer. "Scarlet, is it not enough that you will be the Luna Queen?" the man asked with a sigh. "Are you not ashamed?" Scarlet answered with ice in her tone. "Did you not learn from your father's mistake?" The man flinched at her words. "An affair with a maid? Do you know how disrespectful that is to me?" You are one to talk." The man chuckled without humor. "Do you know how disrespectful it is to me for you to make googly eyes at my younger brother?" "Do not," Scarlet started to defend, but he cut her off. "For years, you have embarrassed me with your infatuation with my brother, but I never said a word, did I?" His red eyes lit up with anger. "We may be engaged, but we do not love each other. So let's not pretend now, all right? The only thing you care about is being the queen, and I will make you the queen, so stop bothering me." "You are not even sorry." Scarlet let out a peal of harsh laughter. "The Luna Queen," she mumbled as the air turned frigid. "Why do you assume you alone can make me the Luna Queen?" Ice spread through my veins, and my eyes snapped open, my body frozen in bed. Despite my eyes being open, I could not move. My heart pounded from the fear that filled my veins from my bizarre dream. The way Scarlet spoke in that dream, I had never heard her speak with such cold finality, not even when she tried to strangle me. Seth. The man in my dream was the dead prince. Why was I suddenly dreaming of him? I was never one to follow the gossip of the royal family, as I was far away enough for their actions not to affect me, living in a remote and small pack, but it did not mean I was completely ignorant of the rumors surrounding the queen. I'd often heard that she was a harsh woman who frequently had her maids whipped, and some of them had their hands cut off for something as small as serving her cold tea. She became evil to all her workers after her closest maid betrayed her by sleeping with her mate and bearing him a son. I never had cause to doubt the rumors, but I now had first-hand experience of how cruel she could be. "Did you not get the necklace I sent you for the ceremony?" she asked me, sitting in the room I now shared with Killian. She had her feet crossed as if she owned the place, and the maid she brought with her stood to the side with her head bowed and her hands clasped and quivering in front of her. "I got it, thank you." Her sudden appearance made my hands clammy, but I hid them, pretending not to be terrified of her. She smiled at me as if she could read my thoughts. "So why are you not wearing it?" she asked, her smile widening as the color drained from my face bit by bit. "Or do you not like it? It belonged to Killian's mother, so I felt you would want to wear it on this special occasion." Beside me, Sabrina shuffled on her feet. "As she won't be here to witness her son get crowned as the Alpha King, don't you think it would be symbolic for you to wear something of hers today?" I bit my lips, forcing my bouncing knees to stay still. Her words were simple and courteous, but I knew better. Yesterday, a maid from the Queen's palace came with a box of jewelry for me. I would not have paid any attention to the box since I thought it was another piece of jewelry the Queen sent me to try bribing me to leave Killian. However, once Sabrina saw the necklace, she lost all the color on her face. The box fell from her hand, and a simple black necklace with a hazel-colored bead in the middle rolled out. I did not know what it was, but my maid told me it was a slave choker. Only recently did the king completely eradicate slave trade amongst wolves, even though it had been decades since slave trade became outlawed. Up until 2 decades ago, omegas were traded the same way people traded cattle. I have dressed already, and the ceremony starts in a few minutes, so I don't have the time to change my accessory. I gave a weak excuse, but again, the queen smiled. Nonsense. She waved a hand. "Today is as much about you as it is about Killian. You have become the talk of the kingdom for the past 2 weeks. Everyone wants to meet the palace maid that would be our queen one day, so who cares if you enter a bit late?" She clapped her hand and her maid stepped forward. "Help the future queen change her accessory," she said. My accessories were simple: the diamond necklace and earrings I purchased in Killian's name, and 3 bracelets that Sabrina gifted me for the ceremony. It wasn't as if I was decorated in jewelry that would take hours to get off, but I was not about to take off my diamond necklace to wear a slave's collar. "I don't want to," I muttered, pushing aside my mounting anxiety. "Are you refusing to wear something so dear to your late mother-in-law?" Her eyes laughed at me as she spewed rubbish. "Or do you want to wear it with your diamond necklace? It would be a beautiful symbolism if you wore them together. An omega wearing a slave choker and a diamond necklace would be truly symbolic. A nobody climbing the ladders she was not qualified to climb. I would look like a fool. It was what she wanted, to humiliate Killian and I on the day of his coronation by wearing a slave choker, reminding the world that his mother was a slave who climbed a ladder she was not qualified to climb, and that he was a man in a position he was not qualified to be in. She wanted to ruin a day as important as this, and she had the boldness to smile and pretend she was doing it for selfless purposes. You know, Martha was my good friend, and of all the people in this palace, I knew her best. I gave her the name Martha because it was a name I wanted to answer in my childhood. Believe me when I say that she would be thrilled if you wore something so important to her on her son's big day. I don't want to wear it. Isn't that what matters? Despite the air turning cold shut me up. I have given you so many choices that you seem to have forgotten your place, she hissed. Patricia, bring the necklace and help this child dress. She addressed her maid. Where is the necklace, my lady? Patricia stuttered. The poor girl had marks decorating her exposed arm, and she moved with an obvious fear of the queen. I'm sorry, Sabrina shouted. She had been silently fidgeting beside me, but suddenly she stepped forward and fell to her knees, her forehead touching the ground. I received the box yesterday, but I misplaced it. What? The queen asked in a frigid tone. I shivered at the look in her eyes. Who are you, and what are you saying? Sabrina stuttered, her entire body shivering on the ground. Speak up and don't waste my time, the queen shouted. Where is the choker? I was admiring the necklace when I received it, but it fell, and It was an obvious lie since I already said I received it. It touched me that Sabrina was trying to cover up for me, but we both knew that while the queen would be careful in dealing with me, her punishment for a mere maid would be too severe for the fragile girl to bear. It's okay, Sab, the girl shouted before I completed my sentence. I misplaced the necklace and I reported the incident, and my lady is now trying to cover for me. I didn't know it was such an important item. Please punish me, it is all my fault. She pressed her head harder to the ground. You dare stand before your queen and utter lies? The queen's cold snarl resonated around the room. Do you want your tongue cut off? My mouth fell open, but Sabrina was nodding already. Please punish me how you see fit, your majesty. It is. My heart quivered as she shook on the ground. Patricia, get the guards, the queen shouted. Let them take this rat to the dungeons and cut off her lying tongue. No! I found myself on my feet, shielding Sabrina before Patricia left the room. I found the necklace already, and I will wear it. My voice shook. Sabrina wasn't lying, so you can't have her tongue cut off, I exclaimed, spreading my arms as if to ward off anyone that may come to drag Sabrina away. Very well, the queen muttered with a drawl, her eyes, which were burning with rage seconds ago, turned clear. Change. You should be leaving soon. Yes. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I'd played right into the queen's trap. With shaky hands, I reached into a drawer and pulled out the old and faded box. Sabrina took the necklace from me, and with tears in her eyes, she fastened it around my neck. The choker fit snugly against my throat, and the queen's eyes sparkled when she saw it on me. Sabrina was about to put away the diamond necklace when the queen stopped her. No, let her wear the two. No one argued with her words. She was still the queen, the greatest authority in the kingdom for the next few hours. She left the room, her attire sweeping the ground and glittering as she moved. 2 men came to escort me to the coronation banquet once she left, and like a moth to a flame, their eyes were drawn to the slave choker on my neck. They blanched for a second but said nothing as they led me from the room to the banquet. There was no one to announce my presence after all. I was still a nobody who hadn't mated with the prince yet. The first people I noticed when I entered were Scarlet and the queen. Their gazes burned into my skin, their eyes mocking me. As I moved into the throne room, I raised my chin, refusing to cower. Then I caught the prince's gaze. He was looking around with a bored expression on his face, as a fat and bald man delivered a speech. His gaze was immediately drawn to my neck, and his bored expression turned dark in the blink of an eye. He would cause a scene. I knew it on instinct. In the 2 weeks since we became fake mates, we had little interaction, so I could not say I knew him well, but the way his face darkened, even the man giving a speech faltered. He would cause a scene, and it would be because of me. I was used to being humiliated on a daily basis, and I was humiliated enough wearing a slave choker, but everything would become worse if he drew attention to me like this, so I slunk away. It was not hard to get mixed up in the crowd of people that filled the throne room for the coronation. I dodged and hid between two women with such large and glamorous outfits. I felt no one would notice me between them. I was wrong. The crowd started to part, and I thought it was my imagination, but again, I was wrong. The two women who I felt would overshadow my existence with their attire stepped out of the way, and then I came face to face with red eyes. Before I could say a word, he reached for my neck. My feet became rooted to the spot, my body going into lockdown as his hand grazed my throat, and then he ripped the choker off my neck, his red eyes ablaze. "It does not suit you." His cool voice washed over my skin. "Where did you get this?" he asked, but from his tone and wandering eyes, I knew he knew. His eyes found whatever he was looking for, and they stopped wandering. "The Queen," we both said. I turned to see who he was staring down behind me, and my gaze caught the Queen's eye. A small smile tugged at the side of her lips, but the girl beside her visibly swallowed, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear and looking away. "Come." He offered me a hand, which I hesitated to take. He did not say a word, but his eyes darkened further, forcing me to take his hand without protest. We walked together to the front of the throne room where the man giving a boring speech in a monotone just finished. People applauded weakly as another man stepped forward. In accordance with the will of the goddess, we have waited 60 days after the passing of our beloved Alpha King Seth I to crown the next monarch. A man with long flowing hair started. Without asking, I knew he was the high priest of the temple, as only the high priest could crown the king. He also had waist-length white hair, white brows, and a long white mustache, the only man in the kingdom with such a description. Today, in accordance with the ordinance set aside by our Maker, I will crown Alpha Prince Killian I as the next King of Wolves. A weak smatter of applause sounded in the hall. It was as if someone had instructed the audience not to clap, but Killian remained unfazed, his hand in mine, firm. I peeped at him from the side of my eyes, and he turned at that moment, startling me. "Your Royal Highness, please step forward." The priest gestured at the elevated podium where the throne sat. With my hand still clasped in his, Killian moved. I planted my feet on the ground, refusing to budge as he pulled me. He turned to me with a single raised eyebrow, his eyes narrowed. "What?" he asked, tugging at my hand, but I still refused to move. I'm not supposed to go up with you," I muttered, feeling hundreds of eyes on me. I shuffled on my feet, fighting to keep my chin up when the weight of the stairs on my back made me want to hide. "Says who?" Killian asked, again his brow raising. "Good question." "Your Highness?" the priest's calm voice called. "It is your coronation, not mine. It was his coronation, his day. If he went up there with me, people would talk, and their words would not be pretty. You are to stand by my side as my Luna, or have you forgotten?" My heart pounded at the weight of those flippant words. Yes, but... "Your Highness, please take the stage." Impatience seeped into the priest's words. "I am not," I started again. "You are wasting my time." Killian's voice went low and the effect was immediate. My feet unglued from the ground and my legs moved. With shaky legs and a heart that pounded loud enough for the whole room to hear, I climbed the stage with Killian, swallowing to moisten my dry throat. The priest gave me a look, but he said nothing as he climbed up behind us. "Let us start with the oath of loyalty," the priest said. The coronation began, but I could not hear a single word the priest uttered. My ears rang as the crowd almost buried me underneath the weight of their stares. People spoke underneath their breaths, their gazes sweeping me from head to toe. I knew what they were doing. They were trying to decide my worth. "You are nobody." I did not know why, but those words whispered in my ears. My chin almost fell to touch my chest, but I held my head up. Many people stared at me, but a gaze burning into the side of my face made me turn. I met fiery green ones that looked like they wanted to bury me underneath a rubble of hatred. Without a doubt, Scarlet hated me, but for the first time since she strangled me in her pack, I felt the depth of her hatred for me, and she hadn't even done anything. She was at the back of the room, yet her burning gaze pierced my skin. Her eyes seemed to tell me, "You are in my place, and I was indeed in her place. My lips tugged up at the side, and I relished the flush that stole across her cheeks. She stood beside another girl who watched Killian with rapture, but she had her eyes on me. I squeezed Killian's hand in mine, and her gaze darkened. "What are you doing?" Startled, I turned to look at Killian, who was leaning into me ever so subtly. I almost dropped his hand, but his grip tightened. "Please, focus, Your Highness." The priest sighed, giving me a small glare as if it was my fault. Mortified, I realized it was actually my fault. The oath continued for an hour more, with Killian repeating everything the priest said, and then it was over. Killian had sworn to lead by the ordinance of the goddess, and he became the Alpha King of Wolves. He walked towards the throne and stopped in front of a seat at the right hand of the Alpha King's throne, the Queen's seat. A hush fell over the room as he gestured for me to take a seat. "Killian," I murmured his name, but his eyes were hard and resolute. "I am the king now," he murmured. "Do you dare disrespect the Alpha King?" A small growl sounded in his words, and it had me shaking my head. "No, Your Majesty." Unable to look at him, I looked away as I sunk into the plush seat of the Queen. A few people gasped, but someone shouted, "Your Highness, you cannot put just any woman on the Queen's throne." It was Scarlet's father. I looked around the hall for the Queen and saw her already staring at me. I had not mated with Killian yet, so technically, she was still the Queen. He put me in her seat and she was furious. "I am the king now." Killian's quiet words resounded in the room. Then he took his seat on the throne, adjusting the crown on his head. "Let me formally introduce you to my mate, your queen." "Killian, you dare put that whore in my seat?" It was the Queen that spoke this time with a voice lacking her usual mocking tone. Her eyes flashed red. "An alpha." I shivered. "I am the king now, mother." His tone mocked her. "You will regard me as His Majesty, Alpha King Killian I, from now on. As for my mate," he paused, "let it be known that an insult to her is an insult to the Alpha King, a crime punishable by death." The hall froze. "My beloved mother," he continued in an even tone, as if he did not feel the effect of his words on the people gathered around. "I understand you did not mean to call my maid a slur, so I will ask you to apologize." Silence reigned in the room, and everyone, myself included, held their breath. "Right, now." He spelt the words out with venom in his tone. "Killian, you cannot be serious." The Queen swayed, her eyes shifting to mine for a brief second. "Do you want to call my bluff?" The hush in the room deepened from his chilly words. "Apologize." He did not even wait for an hour after his coronation to show his tyrannical behavior. I am sorry." Even the haughty Queen looked frightened. "On your knees." My mouth fell open. "You will apologize on your knees,"